Okay, good evening everyone. On this Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, we're officially calling this meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. As we always do, if you don't mind, please rise as we do our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those who are able to rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing while we take a moment to think about those who have gone before us. Thank you. All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Alter?
Here.
Trustee Sowers? Here. Trustee Walters? Here. Trustee Jennings?
Here.
Trustee Hanselman?
Here.
Trustee Mayor Ryan?
Here.
And Mayor Ryan.
I am present. We are down tonight our village attorney who could not get out of a court date because the judge would not allow a reschedule. So she, when she is free of her court stuff that she's doing, she will be calling and we'll loop her in via phone in our high-tech approach that we have here. Alright, that being said, the first thing we have on the agenda is a motion, I need a motion to open the public hearing. This is regarding the proposed local law A of 2025. This would be a local law that would amend the code of the village of Hoosick Falls, prohibiting parking at all times on both sides of Willard Street. So I'd like to make that motion and second it. Second Brett, alright, thank you. So we are now in a public hearing. At this point, we are going to turn it over to anyone who would like to speak specifically to the proposed law that we have available tonight. This is a local law that would prohibit parking on both sides of the street on Willard. So just to get an idea, can I get an idea of who would like to speak tonight regarding this law? There is a section later in the meeting where anyone can speak on any other matter, but this hearing is specific to that local law. Would anyone like to speak on that tonight? Alright, as we do with all of our people to be heard, if you don't mind, start with your name and address, and then the floor is yours for a few minutes.
Sure, my name is Brittany Wynn. I live at 149 Main Street, on the corner of Main Street and Willard.
Okay.
So my driveway goes right into Willard, and backing up out of my driveway is a hazard, especially when I have buses and fire trucks and about 4 cars usually parked on that street now, and I have to figure out which way to turn based on which traffic is coming. So I have to either go around the block, or especially when there was a lot of snow and the cars were parked there, the plow trucks couldn't get through, and then it was an ice jam on one side of the street when cars weren't there. So I was afraid I was going to slide into one of the other vehicles. That was my biggest thing. And then, of course, cars have come up onto my my yard, and they have hit my garden beds. They've crushed pumpkins, and it's just, I'm kind of just over it.
So it sounds like you are in favor of this.
I am in favor of changing this.
Okay.
In many ways.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're on the corner that put up the new porch past couple years and has the gardens on the side.
Yes.
Love driving by and watching the gardens, I just want to say
Thank
that.
you.
Completely decide.
Best decorations too.
Thank you.
Yes. Would anyone else want to speak particular to this local law? Yes, please.
I'm Roseanne Stool. My mom is Anne Marie Gatto. Her house is the other house whose driveway also butts out into Willard. My concern is many. You go to turn onto that street from Main Street, and there's cars parked all along there. You either are almost hitting the car. If you react so you don't hit the car and there's a car coming up Willard, you are almost hitting that car, or that car is almost hitting you. Backing out of my mom's driveway is atrocious. I teach piano lessons. Trying to get my piano people in and out of my mom's driveway is a mess, especially in the winter, as Brittany said. It's a hazard. it's a hazard, and you can't, to try to get in and out in general is not good, and then you have the people driving in the middle of the road, either coming down or going up because of the vehicles there, is also a hazard. You know, you can't, as she said, you can't get the plow trucks around, you can't get the fire trucks around, it's just not it's not a good situation at all.
So also very much in favor.
Yes.
Thank you guys as well for being here. Anyone else want to speak about this?
Rob, just a quick question.
Sure.
Tonight ends the public hearing and the local law can be adopted, so can those signs go up, is that like effective tomorrow? kind of
Yeah,
thing?
we can. Yeah, it'll be effective immediately. So yeah, we can put it up as soon as tomorrow.
Kenny, do you have signs?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll leave the public hearing open for a little bit longer. I think just speaking to the people who came to speak on this tonight, I think we're all in agreement for all of the same reasons. It's great to hear that a lot of the reasons we discussed about this are exactly the things that you guys are saying. We can either wait on the new business section, or we can decide to close the public hearing in a few minutes, and then we can just move right to deciding it.
Now we close it and decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me just give another minute or two. Does anyone, and no one else wants to speak regarding the local law?
Is this just, I'm sorry, I got here late, is this just for the road that she was referring to?
Yes, Willard.
I'm in favor of what,
I'll put you on the record, Karen, also in favor. Thank you.
It's the fire trucks really that keep me out.
Well, I
I know
I
you
have-
guys a problem, but
I can't imagine you guys having to back out onto that road,
For
like,
the school buses, the school buses,
yes.
like, today there was 2 school buses that they had to back up just to get around that corner. And it was like, very scary.
Yeah.
Alright, well, one more chance. Anyone want to speak regarding this local law?
Shut it down.
Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing, Brett? Yes. Second, Bobby. Further discussion, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. It sounds like the board would like to jump immediately to that local law adoption resolution. So we're gonna skip ahead real fast. I'm jumping to this resolution, which I'm gonna put up on the screen. This is a resolution enacting a local law to prohibit parking on Willard Street. Be enacted by the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls as follows. Whereas this village board has been considering a local law that prohibits on-street parking on Willard Street, and whereas this village board called for a public hearing regarding the enactment of the proposed law, such public hearing was conducted on March 12, 2025, at which time all parties and interested citizens were afforded ample opportunity to be heard. Now therefore be it resolved that this village board does hereby adopt and enact a local law to be known as Local Law Number 1 of 2025, which, as we know as follows, will prohibit at all times parking on the eastern and western side of Willard, as those are the only sides there are. Need someone to offer the resolution? Dan, second Brett. Fantastic. Further discussion? Alright, hearing none, a roll call vote please for local law adoption.
Trustee Alter?
Yes.
Trustee Sauer?
Yes.
Trustee Walry? Yes. Trustee Jennings?
Yes.
Trustee Hanselman?
Yes.
Trustee Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
And Mayor Rob Allen.
Yes. It is officially passed. We'll get the no parking signs up very quickly.
Just a quick question, Kenny, can we put like, maybe just some orange tape on those when we first put them up, this,
We'll make them pretty.
you know, when they put a new stop sign up, they put
Yeah,
the
he did that on
orange,
my
so-
corner too.
Yeah.
On the corner of,
yeah, the new stop sign has it, yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny knows what to do.
Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome.
We'll see what other work we can give you this week. Alright, announcements, and then I'm gonna jump to a report because our treasurer Denise actually has a family obligation, so she's gonna be sneaking out early. But first off, the village election is next week. It is Tuesday, March 18th. It is from noon to 9. The Village Hall Municipal Building, 24 Main Street. We are expecting a much higher than normal turnout, and by higher than normal I mean more than the standard 40 to 50 votes we get each year.
Wait, when did we get that many?
A couple times. I think it was actually when we had multiple trustees running for a single seat. We had like 70 for each or something. Anyway. But because of this, we are going to be using, for the first time in my recent memory for the village election, the Rensselaer County voting machines. It's the same things we use at the Armory. We also wanted to thank Rensselaer County Board of Elections Commissioner Henry Zwack and our local legislator Jeff Wysocki who were huge in getting this secured for our election, as I heard from the office, so thank you guys for that. Appearing on the ballot for the one single mayor seat for a 2-year term are both trustees who are here, Trustee Doug Sauer right there, Trustee Dan Schutte who's right there. And there are 3 available trustee seats, they're each 2-year terms. Todd Burdick, Kevin O'Malley, who's a former trustee, and of course Robert Ryan, who's also currently on the board. So those are on the ballots. Not to say write-ins can't happen, go for it, and that's fine, but I just wanna make sure that information is up and out there, and I'll be posting that on social media pretty much verbatim like this, just so we have that out there. I'm gonna wait on the mayor update, so I wanna switch over to Denise's treasure report. I'm sorry we're jumping again, because Denise does have to get an early exit. So, if you guys don't mind moving to reports, and Denise, floor is yours.
My treasurer's report you have in your packet. We've been very busy as normal. I did send updated budget to actuals with some budget modifications, which need to be done. That was kind of late in the day. It was a task, with that all going on in the office. Did not get out sewer modifications. My hope is to get them out first thing in the morning. And just pretty much if anybody had any questions, I don't know if you might wanna hold these and you can get a chance to do all 3 funds or ask any questions. I do have to leave early tonight, but I'll be in the office tomorrow. And I can always be reached by phone or email if anybody wants to discuss things any further.
What did you mean by hold these to get all 3 to, like, in other
I
words,
didn't-
do
I
the
didn't-
modifications?
Right, I didn't do the sewer fund yet, but
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw up, if it's alright with you, the spreadsheets that you have on the screen. 2 out of the 3 counts, general and water, are complete. We get the other one up here. And I spoke to, why is that being weird? I don't know if this was the right one, so we'll see if this is the right one. I spoke to Elena. Typically, I know in the past I think we've done them by motion, but it's more proper to do them via resolution, especially because we adopt the budget via resolution, so it makes sense to do these via resolution. That is not the right one. That's budget. Sorry, give me just 1 minute. I had it open and then I closed it. Alright. So this is the water line. Again, this is going to be nearly impossible to read, but it just kind of gives you a starting point. So, Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a list of a bunch of things that would get increases, the budget lines, what the code name is and the amounts, and then things that would be decreased so that it would, in a sense, even out.
Right.
Based on things that have come in as higher or lower than expected. So let me scroll back up for a minute. These are the items that would be getting increases. And if you guys have any questions about them, please ask. Denise, not me. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit.
Denise, I have a question as you're scrolling through it. Some of the expenses on here are related to PFOA that potentially could be reimbursable. Okay.
We have
Do we know which ones? Do we know which ones?
Yes, but we were talking today, we wanna sit down and just go through all of them again and make sure, like, kind of in our own audit that it's right. We have, and not just from our attorney and our engineer, we have like 5 or 6 different things that this all falls under. Some of them are for the new water source, which is supposed to be picked up by Honeywell. Some of them are our own negotiations. Sometimes they're for like the work at the former Okmulgee Park. So some of them are already paid for by the companies through the escrow account through that agreement, but other ones we're taking on right now as we prepare to have our negotiations with the company, and those are things we'll be looking to get back and include.
So we would have to negotiate that, that's not like an.
It would be
automatic-
part of the negotiations, but I think that, well, I don't wanna speak without Dave Engel here, and I don't wanna get into details on negotiations, but yes, that would be and probably already is built in.
But Rob, that's not part, excuse me, of like the, we've got several different, agreements or settlement agreements from them, not complete but like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, when's the last time we got one from them, like,
The last one we did was what, through the 25 year?
yeah, so but I mean, that's part of that, right?
23, 24 year. So any expenses that we've taken on past that point are also built in the
Right.
negotiation.
And so those will be
That is the
more
idea.
than likely reimbursed.
That is the idea,
Okay.
yes.
Do they have to do 33 cents? They don't give you that leeway of
It
less
was
than
there,
an
so I
hour.
couldn't resist.
Uh,
Prettier.
Here are the decreases to even out. And then you wanted to see the sewer one as well, or the general one as well, right, Denise?
Well, those are the two that I had.
Right,
Yeah,
that,
completed.
yeah. Alright. Nope, no, download. Alright, I'm gonna switch gears to the general one, possibly. Yep, that's gonna be really hard to read. So this is general fund, these are the increases. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. And decreases.
Denise, does CONTR mean contractual?
Yes.
Yes. So obviously, there's a lot here, and part of sort of waiting until a special meeting to do these is gives you guys the time to digest this, ask questions, gives Denise a chance to finish the last one.
Can you scroll up for me, Rob, do you mind?
Yep.
I just have some questions. Police PR overtime stands for police payroll overtime, right? So, we are in March, and our fiscal year ends May 31st, so the new fiscal year would start June 1st, right?
Yep.
So does that mean we've completely exhausted our overtime account for the year?
It's over by the 29, the overtime account,
So there's no more money left for the rest of the year?
not in that account.
So every dollar that's spent on overtime is gonna have to be a budget modification from here forward?
At some point.
So we're way over. Well, we're over.
Within that line.
So-
Unfortunately, that has kind of been par for the course. I'm going back to the original budget. Not saying this is good. This is part of the thing that we've been trying to fix and address financially. But yes. Where is this line in the budget? 3120?
3120.11. So in going down 3120.1, which is regular payroll, we've exhausted all of our regular payroll, not the overtime, but just the standard first 40 hours of the week for the year, correct?
I don't think we budget
3120.
standard and overtime separate. I
We
think
do,
have
Rob,
them.
if you look at PR regular, is that correct, Denise? PR regular would be your first 40 hours, not the time and a half overtime?
It all depends, sometimes it overlaps. The payroll full-time that's there actually is the 3120.12 is actually the longevity pay.
Point
And
12.
are you looking at I'm looking at the budget.
No, I was just looking at this here,
Oh,
where it says 3120.1, all point ones are payroll, right?
yep, point ones are payroll.
So police PR regular other is the standard payroll before you get to overtime? For the most
Well,
part?
the bigger amount is actually in, 3120.1, bottom line.
Talking about this one, where's my mouse? This one right here?
One that's over 2000.
2212, 31.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not really sure how we put those in the lines when we did the budget, but.
And
At point 11 on your budget to actual, payroll overtime and the 3120.1 payroll regular other are the two payroll accounts. The 3120.12, when you're looking at this other report, is longevity pay, and then of course the other one is self-explanatory, is the health insurance buyout.
Right. But those are fixed amounts every year, we can calculate, like longevity, we know that
Right.
employee X gets $1,000 and it's fixed.
Right.
Right, it's fixed. So, when I'm looking at the budget here, what I see is that we budgeted for regular payroll, $374,999, so let's call it $375,000. And we've already spent $402,465, that would be 3120.1. On the profit, the main sheet, right, so we're already over by 27,000 and change on regular payroll with
That's what,
over 2.5 months to go.
that's what the budget mod.
So, if I march those numbers out, we're gonna have to make a lot of budget modifications to make those numbers work. Do we have enough money to move around, in your opinion, without having a calculator in your head? Do you think there's enough money in the budget for the rest of the year to keep funding the police department in such a manner? Like, in other words, is there other lines we can squeeze from to get us through to June 1st without some type of?
There's probably a few, but they're kind of self-explanatory, and on the budget to actual, what's left in all the lines.
Right, you add it all up, Yeah, and I don't want you to do a calculator right now, I'm just making sure that I understand it correctly. For police uniforms, we budgeted nothing this year, if I'm reading that correctly, right? So there's nothing in the budget line, but we have spent $21,230.
Well, when the budget was approved, I think the board approved 15,000, it just wasn't moved.
Mm-hmm.
There's several different things that are all into the .4, but yes, that's the uniforms, because Sergeant Hudson wanted it broken out so he could have his own,
Yeah.
police uniforms, it's 21,230 right now.
Gotcha, so if I extrapolate, if I'm doing this correctly, and I'm not an accountant, and we take a look at we've spent $706,000, from that number, we should subtract the grant, because that's a separate amount of money that's allocated,
Right.
specifically earmarked for certain purposes.
Okay.
That means, when we take that out, we have spent so far $505,000, if my calculator is correct, $505,025. And we budgeted $497, so basically every dollar spent, whether it's on payroll, uniforms, equipment, or any other thing, is going to come out of other places on the budget, or simply we just don't have the money if we can't squeeze anywhere else. Thank you.
Is that the norm, Denise?
It has been running that way since last year, or last year was the first year we were really over.
I think last year we were up to $160,000 in the department.
I know that historically in my time, we've always been, especially when we added more full-time officers, which was a goal of ours, it has typically come over. We had and I'm not poo-pooing your point, there's nothing to argue with there, this is right. We've had so many transitions within the department, and I don't just mean like personnel, I mean like the goal to set up fundamentally structuring how it is. Having a full-time officer whose majority role is administrative. That is a change that we had back when we originally hired Tim Culinary as our chief, and then when he stepped down and Sergeant Hudson was promoted to OIC. And I think that between that and trying to solidify the salary requests, breaking them down like we did last year, it's trying to help us figure out exactly what is the situation, what is the problem. And we knew when we budgeted last year, we had to pick up a lot of things. There were a lot of things we had to do, we added in. But going back to your point, we are over budget, that's gonna have to be addressed now and in the future budget.
Couple points, when we hired Tim Culinary, we did hire him primarily as administrative. My recollection was that Mr. Culinary was part-time, right? He was not full-time. And
30 hours? 34?
I think he was 30 hours a week or something like that.
I think that's right.
That sounds right, I can
Yeah.
double check that.
The exact numbers
He
escape
didn't wanna
me,
be
but,
full-time, and we had to keep him under his retirement or anything.
Yes,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
limits on
that
New
sounds
York
right,
State
that
retirement.
sounds right.
you know, I don't know the exact scheduling thing, but I can tell you 2 residents reached out to me today and yesterday and said there were 3 police officers on duty on the road yesterday. I think we need to be realistic about what kind of service we can afford to provide. And those are huge cost drivers, and we're already over budget, and we're just gonna keep running the total up. That's, if, I'm not an accountant, I'm just saying I'm reading the numbers, and that's what I'm pulling out of it. Now, one more question for you, Denise. If we could pull out, for example, let's say at the end of, when all the smoke settles, at the end of the year, we're $150,000 over, and we squeeze that money from here, there, and everywhere. Could that money have been put into a reserve fund, so when we do have a water and sewer truck break, or like Kenny's trucks, that we could take that money instead of bonding it out?
There's a surplus,
Gotcha.
When's the last time we had a surplus?
not in a long time.
Right,
Well,
never,
We
never
had-
in my years on the board.
Well,
Well,
but not.
But we have opportunities now, I think. to
Right.
create.
We started with, when I started in 2017, there was, do you have any questions for Denise before she heads out?
I'm just saying, maybe we could have a surplus if we were not spending
I,
like this. And I did look historically, the farthest, I couldn't go back very far, but our budget used to be in the 300s range on the police department, and I think at this rate, we're projected to be around 700.
That was with 2 full-timers.
That's what we could afford though, Bob.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, we had.
Yeah, no, I know. And
But we agreed as a board, we all hired the 5 full-time employees we had.
Right.
If we didn't know we could afford it, we shouldn't have appointed them. and we all appointed them.
We can get by with one or two officers on duty with 5 full-time and cut down on some of our overtime costs, but we're also putting all these part-time people on the road. Doesn't matter how many full-time or part-time, it's how many people are on the road at a time. And when you have a ton of people on the road, you're paid, they're all on the clock, whether they're full-time or part-time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
I don't understand where you're getting the number 5 from, Bob, because in the meet and greet, you said we've never had 5.
We have 5.
You said in the meet and greet, we never had 5. We've never had 5.
Never
Because I
had-
made the point that we have to
Never
hire
had 5 what?
Full-time.
Full-time. I said, we have to hire a police chief if we, by law, if we're over full-time people, and you said, we never have had 5, never.
Until this year, we added
Okay, so we do.
Jasmine, Waters, and, who was the
Paul,
third?
Paul John.
Alex
Paul,
Ellis.
Thank you.
Paul.
Yeah.
That's the 3, and we
I
had
think
Morgan and John,
recently we had 5.
Right,
I can't remember if that
So
was
we do
this
have 5.
fiscal year or last fiscal year.
yeah.
No, I mean, to Dan's point, what he's saying about the budget is right. I don't know if it's gonna equal 700, I think, but it's definitely going to be significantly over. We know that the costs have been going up, we know that, and this is actually something I saw online that I meant to correct and I didn't. Our goal since I've been here for the 8 years has always been to have 2 people on a shift. It's a safety issue, it's a backup issue. Having someone who is predominantly administrative is something that we decided we wanted to see happen. It allowed us to make significant upgrades in the department on procedures, on policies, but that does, to Dan's point, come with a cost that we have very much missed on the proper estimate.
Do you know, for Washington County, 60 miles north to south, do you know how many deputies are on the road at night?
I do not.
2, for the whole county.
Well,
We're
I
one
don't
point
think
five.
you know
Hold on a
Washington
minute,
County, but I-
it's alright, Dan.
No,
I don't wanna,
we're
it's at the end of
1.5,
half hour, right?
are you done?
Dan, keep going, it's alright.
We're 1.5 square miles, and we're trying to staff the same level as Washington County, which is 60 miles north to south. I think we need to be realistic. We are taking out bond anticipation notes, revenue anticipation notes, which are nothing more, in my opinion, than payday loans. They're payday loans, we don't have enough money, we take out a bond in anticipation of receiving more revenue, when we could be saving money here and putting the money towards a reserve fund or something, so every time a truck breaks or something like that, we don't need to scramble to find money. That's my point.
I will just add that that idea came from Brett at a meeting about 3 months ago. And I think we all agreed to go on that approach, that's not a new approach. I also wanna add, when we had Tim on board, I think Officer Hudson did 50 to 60% administrative time with Tim there. Because he wasn't familiar with computers, grants, reports, FOIA, a whole lot of other stuff. So we hired someone that wasn't doing all the administrative work in the organization. I just wanted to be clear about that.
Oh, that's fine. No, I mean, this discussion is going to be one of the primary things that drives our the budget discussions. And it's not just about the budget, it's about what is our vision as a collective board for the police departments. When I started here, and I had spoken with Dave Forge, who was brilliant at giving me a lot of perspective before he headed off from being mayor. He talked about the desire to have someone, at least one on every evening, which was not a thing that had been an established thing. Eventually, within a year or 2, we started to see the value in having full-time officers who were here all the time. A couple years after that, we wanted to have more full-time officers, so we went to more full-time officers, knowing that the cost on average per hour is going to be more because you're also paying benefits, not just part-timers. We're at a point now that and to Dan's point, we may have swung too far with what we're trying to do versus the resources we have. We are staffing every shift with 2 as often as we can. We have an administrative body who's primarily doing administrative work, so there are gonna be times where we have the standard 2 people on the road doing whatever, and also have the 3rd person in there as an administrative who can come out if there's a big issue, and that does happen from time to time. I don't think there's anything wrong with discussing that and figuring that out. The only thing I would wanna see before I agreed with the comparison to Washington County is, I don't know what their call volume is, I don't know what their response time is. So I don't know if that's an apples to apples comparison, but again, you're not saying anything wrong, and that's where as Denise had been saying, this next budget cycle is gonna be really important. It's gonna be really, and not just for this, because we've had a lot of other water expenses come up as well. And the last time I recall seeing, I think when we started, I think there was like a, Kenny, you would probably remember this, we had like a $10,000 kind of surplus or slush fund in sewer and water. And slowly over time, as we were battling through all the PFOA stuff, that got eaten up and we never got to replenish that.
Immediately.
And with the 3M funds that are supposed to, by the way, they're supposed to be coming in within about the next month and a half. It gives us an opportunity to spend and get caught up on some of the equipment that we've been doing, and also set up important slush funds. But yeah, so
No, and I'm not blaming you or anything, Rob. I'm just saying that the frustration from my level comes from starting with last year when I looked at how much money was being spent on ammunition, and I did a simple price comparison, if you recall, and I said that comes out at retail price to be like 17,000 rounds of ammunition, and I got, well, we need that, and I just don't think I think we need to be realistic about what we can afford as a village.
And I would add that what we have lacked is the mayor is the budget officer, unless a and this is under law, unless the mayor appoints somebody else to be budget officer.
right.
We have lacked an audit committee, which we're required to have. And in two compliant reports, we have not had a committee, that's an audit committee that is auditing on a monthly basis the expenses and votes. We're sitting here at board meetings, going over all these for the first time. So it's our board's responsibility to provide oversight, and I totally agree with that. But we have, and I've only been on board 2 years, people here have been on board a lot longer than me, have allowed that to happen and not provided our oversight. So the point well, I've asked the question every time during the last year and a half, when we want to spend money, where's the money gonna come from? And nobody has really supported anything about that.
I
So
would
it's
say,
an issue now.
I'm sorry.
And I just wanna say, we have to have oversight, we need to have structure, we need to be compliant. And we need to have financial reports every month.
Yep.
We need to discuss them every month, not once every 5, 6, 7 months. And after 3 or 4 months, there should be not just where we are with the line, there should be a projection on what our trend is, and any notes of any changes. And my understanding is we can modify the budget during the course of the year anytime we want.
Ideally through
Okay,
a
With a
non-budget
budget
We have a lot of
modifications,
tools
yeah.
to do things, and we just need to change and start doing things as a board.
And time-wise and structurally, that has never been something that we've been able to go after. Some things we just didn't know about until, the office was like,
And-
hey, by the way, you need to do this.
And it also needs to be made clear that the department head is I shouldn't say, it, the ultimate responsibility is the mayor's and the treasurer's to give us a report as to where we're at.
Yep.
But it's not the committee people who are responsible for the water, sewer, or police, whatever, to monitor with the department head how much their budget, where budget standing is.
Yeah.
It has never been done in the past. Should it be done in the future? Yeah, absolutely. But has never been done in the past, so there's never been, say, the ownership of, okay, Kenny, you're over budget at the sewer department by $300,000 and our revenue's down by $400,000. It's not whoever's in charge of the water, the committee person on the board, our liaison to the water department. It's not their responsibility to say, hey, what are you doing, we're overspending. It's the board's responsibility, not any one individual.
And to Doug's point, we've never had the tools properly set
No.
to do that. And one of the things that we as an entire collective board have seen is the need for a second financial person. Because what has been on Denisha's shoulders has been too much. Also having to pick up office transitions and has been way too much, which is why we're behind, which is why we're getting caught up, which is why fundamentally we're changing the way we do it.
And we've also dropped the ball, to be realistic, about revenue from code enforcement. And we're reacting to that because we were gonna put another 1.5 persons on now. With Mark retiring, we're gonna hire someone tonight and hopefully anticipate hiring another part-timer to make sure that money starts to increase in revenue. I mean, one hand washes the other. I know that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul to make the budget whole at the end of the year. If we can't, then we have to, but we should be reacting during the course of the year, not 3 months towards the end of the budget.
Sure, Dan.
And I don't necessarily disagree with Doug's point that we should be getting budget to actual sheets on a much more regular basis, once a month or,
we're supposed to get a monthly.
Supposed to get a monthly, I don't,
The
that's,
audit
it's a
says-
valid, it's
Yeah.
100% a valid point. But where I disagree with Bob's statement a little bit is that I agree that the trustee should have communication with the department head to find out if the spending is actually necessary. Jim called me today to tell me, it escapes me now, the type of pump that I guess like went kaboom or something in the water department, okay? We know that's an actual expense that has to be done, we can't run without it, okay? But when I'm asking why we need 17,000 rounds of ammunition, I shouldn't be the only one asking why we need 17,000 rounds of ammunition. This is it's not.
Yeah, but to the police department, okay, we've come really, really far. The police department has made serious headway with training, being up to date with how we should actually have been run. Like, I won't talk about past practice, but
Certifications.
we really have made like strides to make sure that our police department is following policy procedure. We're online with so many different systems right now, so we can coordinate like interdepartmentally, and we've really made a lot of progress in a short period of time. And that's a lot of where you see these numbers. I understand that it's not within our budgetary, it's not ideal, but there's reasons behind why it looks this way.
Well, a perfect example
And
is
I
the
wouldn't-
CAD training. The CAD training, we just
mean-
went live yesterday. Each person had to train for at least 16 hours,
And it's
every
amazing.
officer.
Yes, it's putting us where we need
Because
to be.
that's not the major cost driver here, the major
No,
cost
that's
driver is
overtime.
how
But
many
that's
people are
overtime.
on the clock at a time. That's de minimis, and I agree with you, Meg, to your point, is exactly correct, there are things that were way
proud of
behind the
you.
time, way behind the times, absolutely. But I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told that we had 3 officers on yesterday and 3 officers on today during the day.
There's 3 officers on, there's an overlap from 6 o'clock to 8 AM. There's an overlap, because officers work midnight to 8, 2 officers do, and Paul Alexonis comes in at 6 AM to 8 AM. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that takes place, and that's because of the bus traffic, is the reasoning that I questioned, Dan, and that's what I found out.
Have
But
you
again,
sat down with
not-
any
I'm sorry,
What I'm saying, when we're sitting here, I mean, I'm not a cop, I'm not a highway person, so when somebody tells me, when I look at a number on a sheet and it says $250,000, I can't decide by myself if was money well spent. I need to talk to the person who spent it. So if we've got a head of a department, you should speak to them first, which I don't think I do.
Doug, thank you for waiting. Doug?
A, we need an audit committee that's compliant, that's the role of the audit committee. B, and I don't know if anybody here has ever seen, when you're a liaison, is there a stated role and what the responsibilities are? No.
No.
I
For
think
what
Brett and I
trust-
both would probably say from finance, we don't even know what we're supposed to do.
For what trustees do and
Yeah,
don't do?
yeah.
What's your charge, what's your
Yeah.
overhaul? You supervise, you're directly with the supervisor. I've
Right.
read where trustees don't go and direct staff or anything else. Our authority comes from you when it comes to oversight of any of the departments or employees.
There's fraud
We do
definitions.
not have a board structure.
It's broad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
finish
It's
and then
not
I'll.
defined, it's not
yeah.
defined.
It-
Dan saying, well, you ought to be all, okay, have finances and everything else, I don't think I'd blame Dan for the high water fees. But, we don't have a defined role, it's kind of liaison on what. So again, it's just board structure, we have a budget officer, I would say appoint a budget officer separate from the mayor, that's accountable to the mayor. We create an audit committee that looks at the finances every month with the treasurer and maybe the mayor. And when the report's coming back to the board, it's with the audit committee and the treasurer. And I would say the liaisons get defined, what their responsibilities are, and when we get department reports, that liaison is part of the department reports, not somewhere else reporting in the department reports there. It all needs to be integrated, we need to know what our roles in and what our responsibilities are with each of the departments. And if there's a liaison has a financial role or interest in it, it should be through the audit committee that's looking at this on a regular basis, from not what our finances are, but also where we're gonna be projecting in. We
So-
don't have that.
So to speak to the question about what trustees do and don't do, the village law is actually, I was surprised when I spoke to NICOM to get a bearing on this about, I thought that the trustees themselves would in a sense have more authority. Trustees, let's say Bobby, who oversees DPW, as a trustee does not have the authority to go to Kenny and say, Kenny, I need this done now.
Correct.
Right.
Things of that nature. But my personal style as mayor, and this is great talking to the 2 prospective mayors coming up, has been I don't have enough time. I want trustees involved in things. So I want, I want trustees knowing about what's going on in highway. I want trustees talking to Jim and getting calls about expenses. I want trustees knowing what's going on in the police budget and so on. That has always been my approach to it because people have been always asking, what can I do? And I'm
Sure.
like, that's great. But that is going to kind of need to be a decision that the next mayor is specific about.
It's up to you to delegate the authority.
Absolutely.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying, Rob, is that technically by statute, a trustee cannot say this employee was insubordinate to me and I'm going to take action. Right. That can only
Correct.
come from the appointing authority, which I think would be the mayor.
Well, I think in a situation of like that, let's I was gonna come up with a great example with Kenny, but I'm sure he's done giving the example over here. Yeah, it would have to come through the board, go through the attorney, and whatever process the village has for disciplinary things, it would go through that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, any department head has a spending limit of what's the dollar figure, they can't spend without board approval.
Yeah, we have a procurement.
We have a procurement
We have a
policy.
procurement
Yes.
policy.
Yes, we
Emergencies.
things the water budget, there's a a big like $20,000-$30,000 for we're expecting that we could have this pump die. We know pumps are stupid costs money. So if we budget and a pump dies and Jim says, hey, the pump died, go do it. But in a situation where we've already used those funds up and we have an emergency spending, then it's an emergency procurement and then we can approve it later. And we're gonna, as we go through the water stuff, we're also over budget on the water side because of equipment, because of a lot of other things that have just been going on. It just is what it is.
Infrastructure.
And we also have $414,000 of unpaid water and sewer bills right now.
Yeah.
$414,000.
That's
that
over
aren't
like
paid.
That goes back to the
25,
No, that's,
30
no,
year
this is,
period.
no, it's not, this is, no, this
Oh,
is-
I'm sorry, you're talking
no,
about,
this is actual right now, as of Monday.
Right.
$414,000 of unpaid water bills.
these will get re-levied to the
Right,
county.
that the
Right.
county pays us and they.
Sure,
makes us
right,
whole,
we're gonna
but
get
there's a
repaid,
long-
but we're also gonna wait for our money.
Yeah. But going back to, I think,
That's amazing.
the general points we've been
It's actually-
saying,
It's 205 water,
We have
209
not-
sewer.
we have not been equipped in the finance department having
Other way
just Nice to be available for Kenny and John and Jim to go over and say, hey, what's my budget to actual on a monthly basis? How am I doing? Where am I at? And that's part of the culture change that we've been starting to do and really has to be a priority next year. Absolutely agree.
I think there's gonna be a lot of changes, and it's a good opportunity to put some new, smart procedures and whatever in order, because I mean, it's a good time for us.
And with a lot of things that we have gotten done, a lot of the big things, like the balance tank and the GAC building is finally mostly taken care of, except I think they have to put back some of the building together. The fact that our new water source is hopefully going online, the only sort of lingering thing is just our final discussions and settlements with the companies. With that off the radar, we can finally have these discussions and evolve in the directions we know we've
Right, we
needed
got
to.
the dehumidification for
Yep.
the water,
Yep.
water plant.
Yeah. Alright, so if I can segue back into a minute, we are looking to need a special meeting in the last full week of, I'm gonna call Elena real fast and get her on the horn here. We are looking to need a special meeting in the end of March, which is, and I need to kind of ask you guys about availability. To set up an evening for that, but we have a bunch of things that we need to do before the new month comes. The first one is hiring decisions. Specifically, we need to talk transfer station operator, cause Keith is stepping back from that, and just going back to his normal full-time run, that's in part of the new business. And we'll talk about that and Kenny covering that in a bit. Budget modifications that we've already talked about, we wanna get that done, especially in, as we're working on the tentative budget for the next year. That we're looking to introduce a local law to set up a senior exemption more in line with what the town and county does, but are sort of with our own numbers. We officially have to have the dedication of the new water source over to the village. The companies have purchased that and done all the work there. And Dave Engel said that we're basically just about ready to have all that documentation done. So the lands, the new wells, the water lines, and all the associated infrastructure will be dedicated over the village for $1. And we as a board have to approve that, so that would be a great time at the end of March to do that. And also, that means that it would be really nice to turn on the water. that night.
Do
Because
you
I
actually
think
have to
when
give
we're
a
ready.
check for $1?
I don't know if it's check or cash, but wherever it is, we'll frame it and put
Give them
that thing
100
up.
pennies.
Going back to that, that does hopefully set us up with the ability to actually turn on the water that night and kind of celebrate the fact that it's been 10 years since this all started, that we're finally gonna have the new water source online on the Hughes thing, so that's very, very exciting. Alright, second thing, we did a lot of work earlier this fiscal year on resetting the organizational meeting and doing that correctly, and one of the things we talked about was wanting to set up the organizational meeting to start exactly with the new term, the new mayor and the new board. That is supposed to be Tuesday, April 1st, when officially the new terms start. So my question is, do we as a board want to confirm that we are gonna have an organizational meeting Tuesday, April 1st?
What's the statutory deadline on that, do you know?
There's no statutory deadline. It's kind of nebulous. In fact, the whole way organizational meetings are coded into local or into state law, it's nebulous. But most municipalities will do it right at the changeover. And what they do is they redo the procurement policy, code of ethics policies, appoint the various people who need to be reappointed each year, all that stuff that we cleaned up. So the question for you guys is, do you want to officially set Tuesday, April 1st? Do you want to do Wednesday, April 2nd? How do you guys want to do your organizational meeting?
Is that something that Elena needs to attend?
Maybe?
Do we have to decide to?
You don't, but I wanted to put it on the radar so that we can set that and properly
I'm
notice that.
comfortable doing it April 1st.
Okay, April Fool's Day.
If you move it to the second, I don't think it makes any difference.
Alright, so just have that on the radar, we'll have to set that.
Yeah.
And we'll have a quick special meeting to the night of the election to officially approve the election results.
That's what I
We can do it there, we can also do it at our other special meeting, it doesn't matter which one, that on the radar, I didn't wanna forget that. We recently had some water pressure issues, that's putting it lightly for people who lived up there, on Ashley Drive and top of Rogers Avenues for a period of about 5 days. Those 14 or so locations had little to no water for long periods of time. I wanna first thank our water operators Jim Herbert and Josh Magazzano, who spent the majority of those 5 days up there. Multiple overnighters were done. As they tried to diagnose things, they thought they had it, they'd have to repressurize the system, wait 6 to 9 hours to make sure that happened. Things are good, hours later, crap, things are bad, what's wrong? I also wanted to apologize to the residents who had to deal with that. I'm glad that people reached out to some of us and had a direct line of communication. We did not, as a government, do well enough at direct communication, and I apologized. I want to apologize for that, and I apologize in the letter that we just sent out to those residents. We will do better next time. We knew that Jim and Josh were talking to people, but that wasn't good enough. We could have used our website, put some notices out, hand-delivered letters. So if this happens again, that will definitely happen. And we've already talked about the possibility of upgrading some of the pumps and control systems there in the same way we did it when we did the Snow Street, Rensselaer Street tank upgrades. That was through a grant, which I think was a $150,000 grant. The Snow Street work, you don't remember that, Kenny, do you?
It was close to that, yeah.
I should have asked Neil, he was the one who had to help the engineers figure out how to do things. I'll never forget that day, that was insane. But so that's something that we're looking into, and that would be a really nice use of 3M money is after we buy everything we possibly can and set up infinite reserves. So, just wanna put that out there. And just the last thing, just for me personally, it has been an honor to serve as mayor for the past 8 years. I have a few weeks left on my term. My focus is on finishing up some projects. The main two are the new website and the OSC corrective action plan. And also laying the groundwork for a successful and efficient transition to the next mayor, whoever it may be. I've already reached out to both of them independently, and I know I need to have a conversation with you over the phone. But just talking technology, logistics, one of the things I will be forever grateful was for former Mayor David Borge. He sat down with me for 3 different evenings for an hour and a half each minimum and walked me through like 50 different points. And it was incredible. It was incredible, it was so helpful, so I wanna make sure I do the same thing. And of course, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still local, so my phone will be available to call me if you have any questions. I'm sure they'll come up. So
Thank you, Bill.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And also thank you, Megan, who this is your last regular meeting night as well. So thank you, Megan, as well.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to the people to be heard section.
I'll miss you too, Brett. It's been so much fun.
We typically go over the standard people to be heard rules, but nothing has changed in the past several meetings. We have that you have to step to the front of the room, but we don't need to do that. You can just kind of stand up if you want to, or stay where you are. This room's small enough for that. Give your name, address, limit your remarks to 5 minutes. You can't yield to someone else, even though that would be neat and fun. The board doesn't have to respond or have a conversation. We certainly can if we want, but it's not a requirement. And remarks must be addressed to the board, not to any particular member or things of that nature. Please observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. Yes. And you can also always send things in written. So, just to get an idea of who would like to speak to the board on any topic. 1, 2, who would like to go first? Not you, Karen?
I always go first.
Alright, would you like to go first?
Sure.
So, and again, start with name and address, even though we
That's
already know
fine.
this. Thank you.
My name is Brittany Nguyen, I live at 149 Main Street.
Thank you.
So you guys discussed a lot of topics, and the budget is definitely a concern, you know, as a taxpayer. I'm new to the area, so I've only been paying taxes here for a year, and I think they're a little crazy myself. But to see the breakdown, I've heard a lot of talk about the police uniforms was a big one, which is, I'm not saying that they don't deserve new uniforms, you know, they work hard, and I understand the certifications for everyone. I work in healthcare, so I understand, like, you have to keep up with your certifications, and we wanna make sure everybody's safe. That's not what I'm concerned about. I guess what I've heard and how I feel, I guess, like the hats. Did you need hats that cost $300 a piece? How many hats did you get? You know, like, those are types of things, like, could we squeeze, maybe like put it in the budget next year, get uniforms this year? Like, did it need to be that high-end type of uniform? If we knew the budget, then, I don't know, could we address it a different way, or go over, who do they talk to? Who goes over, like, oh, are these my options? These are what I need, like, those types of things, like, obviously I'm not there, so I don't know how it's broken down, who makes that final decision, or is it just like, oh, we bought these uniforms, and now taxpayers have to pay more
No,
money?
they're approved by the board, and just to
Actually contractual.
yeah,
They're
but just-
contractual.
and they're contractual, but in past practice, maybe I'm speaking out of line or out of term, but I believe that they actually paid for them themselves. So what happened was, they bought uniforms, in the past they didn't do that, so we're seeing, like, in my opinion, larger amounts spent because it never happened before. So instead of getting one, like, new uniform,
yeah, you need
they
more than
they
one,
got
yeah.
3 for everyone, because
Okay.
in the past, that's not how things were going.
So is it 3
It's
for
kinda like playing
full-time
catch-up.
and
No,
part-time?
3 for
Like,
everyone.
Yeah.
Three
That's
for everyone.
It's in the
contractual
contract
requirement.
in their union, so, but before that wasn't
We were
happening.
compliant.
He's in, we are now in compliance, so it's like playing catch-up.
If I could just address that, that's not what the contract says. The contract says initial hire uniforms.
Oh.
That means when you walk in the door as a brand new employee. We didn't need to go through, I
So
disagree.
who doesn't, they don't get, no,
They,
if
we need,
you're,
we should have, most places,
they
we
don't
should-
get uniforms then if you've been working here?
no, I just
Yeah,
think.
so what,
I'm
I
sorry.
come out of EMS and we had very similar uniforms, you know, the 511 pants and the whatever.
I paused your time, so if you want more.
Yeah, when we transitioned to we had several different uniforms through the years, we transitioned slowly. So
Okay.
we would buy so
Right.
many people every single year.
Right,
The
but you
contract
didn't have
says
any to
initial.
start with, and you had to
Oh,
start with
yeah,
something.
I know, but
Everyone was wearing a
Thank you.
uniform.
Okay.
We didn't need to go through and
That made
replace
purpose.
$21,000
Makes sense.
2 years in a row. I don't think, initial hire means initial hire, it doesn't mean go through Al at once and replace every single uniform in the place. That's my opinion, from a guy who writes labor contracts, initial hire means literally initial hire.
But if they were initially hired and never got their uniforms then,
So what were they wearing to work?
They bought them
want their own,
themselves.
Or one pair of pants. for-
So
and one pair of pants and they
That's the
want
truth.
theirs.
So,
That's the truth.
Did you wanna
so
work there?
yeah, I wanna give a little bit of context,
Thank you.
the police officers are part of a union, the union has a contract with the village, that you're a nurse,
Yeah.
you know all this stuff. But previous to the past about year or two, the village really wasn't meeting their contractual obligation that we should have been. It really wasn't kind of pushed or brought to our attention, and as Chief Culinary took over and he's a long-time police officer with the contract, he's like, hey, this isn't what's going on. That's when we started to make big differences there. I think it was initially his idea to switch to the hat, what's the name of the hat? Stetson, sorry, the sort of the more official like state trooper style Stetson.
Yep.
And just get things up. We as a board were like, yes.
That's
To go to your budget question though, when we were doing the budget last year, we were looking over things on the screen and we had questions about things. And I think, to Dan's credit, he brought up concerns about things that we did budget wise, and we all collectively, may have outvoted him on certain lines regarding police or other things, but collectively we approved the budget at the end of the year.
A thing in place stating that, so if an officer is hired, right, they're only here 6 months, and then they quit or go somewhere else, do they have to, does that
Do they have
money
to
come out
reimburse?
of their paycheck to reimburse those uniforms?
All their training certainly does, so.
think-
Yeah, they're training.
Their
So-
training, if we did their
No,
training.
that makes sense, that makes sense.
So I think it would be
it's
the
in
same
there.
thing.
I think I actually
So
read it.
usually, like, I know
Probationary
if you have to have a uniform and you only work there a certain period of time and we pay for the uniforms, they're gonna hold on to those uniforms, they're not gonna give us back used uniforms. Usually it would come out of their paychecks, they have to be there a certain period
Yeah.
of
That
time.
makes sense.
You know,
Some
if that
things-
was
Some things would be returned, certain equipment items, other things obviously wouldn't be,
Right.
more disposable
The actual
things.
uniform wouldn't be, because, I mean, if
Correct.
it's more,
Yeah,
but as far as,
absolutely.
just so you know, I'm reading, this is what they're required to receive. Every newly hired officer will receive the following equipment: one hat, one shield, one tie, 3 pairs of pants, one set of handcuffs, one 3-in-1 jacket, one key holder.
I got you, Bobby.
Yeah, okay, so there's like 40 items they're required to buy,
And that contract was for 3 years?
yes.
Oh, where'd it go? I had it. Never mind.
Scroll up.
So if they're not there for 3 years, they,
No, that's the
They're hired within
contract.
that 3 years.
I
And we've hired a lot of guys.
And we
yes,
didn't do it.
So,
I mean, I think there's, I'm not saying that they're doing a bad job, that's not my, but the uniforms are
What
only
section
one
is that,
issue that I've heard about, like the
Bobby,
car
what-
wraps,
oh, there
and
it
the
is.
cost of the car,
But you see, online you see all that stuff, right?
there's a lot.
Yeah.
But that's
You know
not
that-
true.
You know
The
that
new-
the internet
I
and reality
understand
aren't
that,
necessarily
but
the
there's
same thing.
conversations like that aren't in here. that-
Brittany, you were asking about the new logo on the police car, is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yep.
That cost the village
We
$100.
donated.
Okay.
It was,
So like it'd be great to know those types of things, or like break it down like how much money that they're using in overtime for education purposes. Like the people need to know those types of
all
things.
public
And things like fairs.
But it's not
and-
broken down.
And
It's not, like, it's
festivals and those kinds of things.
So Brittany, to your point, what you're asking for is a lot of the stuff that we have been talking about, not having access to reports, certain things being
Yeah.
broke down month by month basis. All of the things you're saying make a lot of sense. There's information that's out there posted online, it's not always true. And even then, if we as a village say, okay, newly hired officers will receive. If we say, well, newly hired officers a couple years ago didn't receive that, so should we do it or should we just give them a little bit? This is where it becomes a board decision, what do we wanna do? We knew that we had to put in a lot more money last year and this year to uniforms, we know that's not going to be the case going forward, it's gonna be a lot less. In the same way, we knew we made a collective decision to purchase more firearms, so that each officer has their own firearm. There's no sharing,
They were sharing
there's
a
weird
gun.
things like that.
Isn't that-
We didn't like
wasn't-
that, it's a
aren't
bad
some of
policy
these things
thing.
important for just getting certified?
Yes, and it all ties into the fact that we are moving
Accreditation.
towards accreditation, getting on more in line with policies,
Credit, not
procedures.
certified.
But your concerns certainly make sense, and going back to Dan's point, if we're over budget by, $100,000 at the end of the year for the police budget, that's a red flag that we need to address.
Yes, but it seems very obvious in this conversation, like what Meg brought up and stuff, that we've hired so many in the last, since this contract, that we're like catching up.
Yeah.
So once you
I
get
mean,
there,
I
then it
see on ideas
eases out.
Just to answer, you had a question about recuperating money or taking, like, it's actually illegal in New York State to ever take money out of someone's paycheck to recuperate like uniforms or something like that. So if you ever hear of an employer, it's like, oh, you get into an accident, I'm gonna take the money out of your pay.
So,
Totally,
I mean,
you can
I'm
demand the
coming
uniforms
from
back.
Vermont, so it's totally different there,
Yeah.
I guess, because if you only worked for the company for 3 months and like say hard hat or anything that you needed, that the company gave you, and you don't return it, or you can't return a hard hat, but like tools or anything, like you're given that stuff, so you have to work there a certain period of time because the company's paying for those
Right.
things. So they're not going to want to eat that loss. So that's where I'm.
But we haven't had any cops
We actually-
quit in that period.
No, but we did have this conversation because when we were doing a hiring practice a couple years back when Dan was first on the board, we were trying to tie some sort of like you have to work for X amount of months, and
Right.
Dan's like, you can't do that, that's not legal. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
It's a
Just
frustration of a lot of employers, where you spend all this money and then they leave
Right.
and you're like holding the bag, but you can take from like vacation buyouts or stuff like that, like if they have 20 hours vacation on the book, you're allowed to.
But we haven't had to do that, so it's not been a
Yeah,
problem.
but you can't take from pay, and that's actually federal law, so.
let me give her a chance to wrap up and then Doug, do you have anything else that you wanna? Alright, thank you, Doug, you wanna say something and then I'll turn it back over to
I
Karen.
just wanna add that before I became on the board, 2 years ago, I was with the Community Police Review Board, and we were struggling to try to recruit police candidates out of Company's Village. And we have done a great job over time, but it wasn't a pleasant place to work at.
Well, a lot of this is
But
just.
secondly, my understanding is the union contract's coming up for May. The mayor, whoever that is gonna be negotiating the union contract. We're gonna develop a budget before we know what the union contract is. And a lot of these issues are of concern to the union regarding how we're treating their employees and everything else that's going on. So we got another issue happening up here with the police, and that's gonna be around the union contract that's gonna be negotiated.
So I guess, are we gonna have more, so our next fiscal budget or whatever, are everybody gonna get new uniforms?
No, we don't need
Just
that.
making sure.
Yeah, no.
Unless everybody
Or
leaves.
just for
No.
the next 2 years, we don't have to. spend.
It's not an annual expense, Brittany.
So, as an
That's what I'm saying,
example,
like,
I
that'd be
mean,
great
I
to
might
know,
go
like,
out and
hey,
buy an extra.
like people, that's what people are concerned about, like,
Yeah.
are they getting 3 uniforms every year? Is
No.
they gonna continue to
You know, it's a
get
Yeah.
higher and higher?
And-
Right.
and as an example, one of the things that Sergeant Hudson set up was money set aside for training officers. So if we know we have 2 spaces, we will have the money to cover the cost of going to academy, equipment, mileage, whatever, and that's in the budget. And then we know that that's where the money comes from, and then we know that those 2 officers will need the full regimen of uniforms. So now that we've done our everyone needs to have what they want, now we know it's just, okay, some pants got ripped or something, so,
Yeah.
whatever, and then we go back to whatever the contract requires, but no, it won't be like this every,
Oh.
we know
The
that.
same thing with the trainings, usually the trainings are like every, like.
Well, they-
2
You have to
or 3
maintain
years.
training, you have
Yes.
to maintain
Yeah,
it, yeah.
depending
But-
on what it is.
Yes, we have,
Right.
a couple years back, we purchased a subscription to some online training courses so that the required hours that officers have, they would have access to that, they could do that in the office. There's certification things that they have to do, like there's certain pistol certification requirements that happen annually. And with a lot of our system and policy changes, there've been additional trainings that we've had to have. And actually one of the reasons John is itching to get out of here is because the whole county switched over their CAD system yesterday.
Tuesday went live.
Tuesday, that went online, so he's in the process of also making sure that's all working with our cars and our equipment and our stuff. So there just has been a lot of changes in the past couple of years, it's evening out, which is really, really good, we know what annual policy subscription costs are and training costs are, and we're not having to do a bunch of firearms and a bunch of, so that's all coming down and kind of relaxing and getting out. Going back to Dan's original point, the hours are really high is it sustainable? If it's not, what do we need to change? That's the next year budget discussion.
Can I also take the time to thank Officer Hudson for all the work he's put in to get our police department up to speed?
Yes,
I would like to
Thank you.
acknowledge his work.
yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Sergeant
Yeah,
Humphrey.
yeah.
Thank you. Not only has he been leading the department, but he's had to do that also as a union member, which is a very tricky thing to be both the boss and part of the union who you're bossing over, so it is a tricky balance. Thank you. Thank you everyone for discussion on that. Karen,
Thanks.
Karen Pimerano.
you're limited to 5 seconds, go. Just kidding.
Karen Pimerano, 115 DC Street Extension. Just one or two questions on that.
Sure.
That we've been talking about. When you guys were saying modify, like you mean going back and adjusting because of the overages? That's what I'm hearing, like when like the uniforms are, we spent too much money on uniforms than you allotted or whatever, so the budget has to be modified, so you're taking from somewhere else to cover those costs, right? Is that what you're anticipating?
Yeah.
It does, we do that every year.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so
There's things that we don't
how
spend
can we
money on.
constantly rob Peter to pay Paul, as I've heard 3 times during this meeting, if for like the sake of uniforms or the pumps that give us water? Like,
No, can't touch that.
you know what I'm saying?
They're not those aren't interchangeable.
No, it's
They're
just,
not-
it's just a
no.
general.
No,
It's
no, I'm
set-
just
set
saying,
from
like-
another part of the budget that hasn't been used, that they haven't needed it. They were under budget, so we can put it in the other place.
No, I understand, but then what happens, you know, we take it from there and then, oh darn, something happened, now we need that money back.
We don't do it till the end of the year, Karen.
Okay, well, no, I'm just asking.
No, and just to speak more to that, as an example, we had budgeted this year for an extra code person, which we're finally hiring tonight. And it was like $26,000 or $27,000 in there or whatever. So we know that we're hiring, looking to appoint someone tonight. They'll work for the last 2 months or so of the fiscal year. If there was say $30,000 in there and we only use 8 of that for salary, that means the other stuff is available and can be shifted around.
Right.
And part of the budget process of getting ready for next year's budget talks are to check these things, modify things and help, and that helps us kind of drive our decisions. So I paused the clock, sorry, you can
No,
continue.
you're
Karen.
okay. So I personally have been having an issue with an officer here in town. I've reached out to other officers in town about it. I've reached out, even to the officer in charge. I even text his phone every time something happens with this guy. He literally pulled out of the police department with not even headlights while I was driving home the other night and almost hit me, and then drove right at me until I backed up. So there's cameras there, this can be seen, go back and look. He literally, I've been told by multiple officers at the same time that a cop can go down a one-way road, not responding to anything, that they can drive wherever they want. So I was pulled over for not stopping at the new stop sign, that I'm at every meeting, I know it's when we stop at. The cop intentionally stopped at the top of Wilder, never came forward, didn't turn his lights on until later on, so the traffic cam that he showed me, cause I went to the police station and tried to make complaints on this, I'm only videotaped that I can see from taking off, so he tells me, you sped. I didn't get a ticket, but it's the point. The same officer, at the same time of night, cause I take a friend to work every night, was driving down Church Street, no headlights on, from Cumbies to Stewart's, the new Stewart's, before he put them on. These are multiple complaints, it's a safety thing. So when he drove down and got me on Wilder, he drove down the one way and pulled up Wilder. He knew I wasn't gonna stop at 11:30 at night. That's erratic. And I was literally at the library coming down, and at that point, with all the snow that I was complaining about last month in front of Jason's across from, what's his name's house? Everybody says it's somebody else's snow, but he almost hit me and then went up a one-way road and then stopped. Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Back in October, I asked for this particular officer to not come near me. He came in my house illegally. I've already went down and tried to get that stuff, but I've only made a complaint on that. I didn't foil it, so I'll never know the truth on that. But I just feel like that things aren't being addressed, and you're supposed to be in charge of the cops, the overseer. So where do you go besides you?
I wanna give you the time, but I will answer that, but I wanna make sure you have had
So
the
my
time.
only other thing was the traffic study that you guys did, we only settled on this one street. Whatever happened to like Elm, being no parking there, the one way that you guys were talking about last time, is that gonna be a new traffic study?
Can I,
No.
can I,
No.
can I address that one?
respond to that.
The parking one?
The,
Well,
it's actually
Sure,
a
let me pause
park-
the time.
are you talking about the parking study?
Yeah.
The parking study,
But
just,
like when you pull onto Elm and like by the
Yeah.
tattoo shop, you were saying, and end up going down, making it a one-way, possibly going down.
yeah, you're talking about the overall parking study,
Yeah,
so,
like,
yeah,
I
the
just
only thing
wanna
I'm
know
gonna
what-
say about that, I don't wanna speak too much about it, but I talked to Kevin O'Malley a lot, and one of his goals is to take that parking study and try to get more and more of it implemented, because he was the kind of the brainchild behind
Okay.
it. So, that, I don't wanna speak for Kevin though.
No, but at least I know what to
Yeah, I
ask
speak to
about.
Kevin also a lot, and about this, I mean, I kinda, so, but anyway, then you went off the board, and, but what, I think what happened, or the way I remember it anyway, is that we had the study, and then there's another piece of the study that's supposed to come back, because we also asked them to look at the, at diagonal parking in front of the post office and stuff, where you could die when you pull out onto the, yeah, that one. So, we're gonna get that back, but also, some of it is gonna get wrapped up with the New York Forward stuff, cause the New York Forward, hopefully they're gonna pay for a lot of the signage and all that stuff, so it's kind of like on hold.
No, that's okay, let's have one, we're bored.
And then,
Yeah.
and and sometimes going to the parking thing, locations wise, it could just be an enforcement issue. Like if there's parking that isn't happening, we need to make sure that it's being addressed and taken in. We're keeping track of parking tickets and traffic tickets.
It's hard to do
It
that
could
when you've
also-
only got one person on at a time, though.
That's true. It's also related to the fact that we saw that there was a need to address that parking situation on Willard. So by local law, the village board can make those changes. We don't have to have a study to do that. We can hear that, hey, this particular street is crazy, so we're gonna change it.
Local law.
Yeah, the stop signs was another, like, we were hearing from people, Deb was hearing from people, it's crazy up there, it should be all stopped, so we did. And then just going back to your original thing, first off, thank you for not using the officer's name, you totally could have, and I probably would have had to cut you off, but I appreciate that. That being said, the village does have a procedure to look into those types of things, there's reports you can fill out, there's a CRRB who would review it. I would review it, I would review video footage, so there is a process, and I would encourage you to make sure to go through the entire process. And if there is a problem with the process, come to me, or whoever the next mayor is.
How do you contact the CRRB, whatever, that thing?
You could contact the police department, you could contact the village office, and they would be able to get you numbers and emails of who runs things, so.
So like the report you're referring to though, my incident was in October, I literally was able to finally fill it out with the officer and another officer that witnessed it, whatever, nobody wants to be around me alone, they're afraid, but.
I think the community police review board met last week and reviewed it.
So there may be more information.
I don't know if the
Well,
results
but
are.
like, could I get the names of that committee, is that like allowed?
Yeah, you can
Because I
get the
keep
public,
hearing
yeah,
about
you can
it
get it from the.
and.
It should be on the website.
And like-
I'm checking the website right now.
But like one of the business owners I hear on there, I'd love his confirmation, because he literally, if I'm
Oh,
correct,
it's not on the
volunteered
website.
he,
I will
I
get it
wanna
on
say
the website.
volunteered, his Facebook story on Valentine's Day was frothing a penis and balls. No lie, so I would like confirmation on who's that board that's
So-
looking over me.
I will
Nobody's looking over you.
Right,
Karen-
but-
Karen, I'm gonna wrap this up, but I just went to our webpage and the names are not up there, so I'm going to update those names.
Can you email me or?
Yes.
That might-
Yes.
Send me them?
Yes. Can you remind me to do the website? Alright, anyone else? Thank you, Karen. Anyone else people to be heard? Alright. Moving on. Students who are itching will, normally around 7:30 if the meeting isn't over, we'll pause and sign things, so if you're itching, that's where we're at. There you go.
This isn't sex education.
Alright. Reports. Sergeant Hudson, please report. Take it away.
319 calls. I did my best with the old system to get accurate numbers. Like the mayor stated, the new call system went live for all law enforcement yesterday. There's still some bugs being worked out. I'm working with Captain Wellreed, Dylan McCobb from Rensselaer County IC and IT. sheriff's department did the first 2 arrests, we had the 3rd, so we're working through that. Make sure the system's working correctly. I'm actually leaving right after my report to go finish some other things in regards to that.
Thank you for staying and waiting.
Some of the updates, one thing I didn't put in there, Kenny and I talked the other day about some of the parking signs. Once it clears up and warms up, we're actually gonna go for a ride around and look at some of the parking signs that are out there, see which ones are correct, incorrect, old, can't read, things like that. So him and I are gonna work on that.
That's great. That's gonna be a bear of a project. We've tried, I know Deb and I multiple times to try to dig into all of the local laws that dictate all of the parking. And there's like 1,000 local laws over like 4 decades that are just randomly like, oh, we're gonna do this, oh, we're gonna repeal that one and do this instead.
Right, this bill repeals this bill,
It
but it doesn't tell you what date that is.
it needs a anyway, I'm sorry, John, keep
No,
going.
we're not going there, but we're just gonna look at signs.
You sure? You sure? Because I hear Kenny wants more things to do.
Chicken back. We are working with Kevin O'Malley and Kenny and I just talked about Saturday is our biggest parade of the year.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day Parade. So we will have a lot of people here. The sheriff's department's gonna have a car and 2 motorcycles. So in the parade as well. So we do have some assistance coming in that.
That's great.
Kevin told me it's gonna be an even bigger turnout than it was last year.
Largest parade ever, yeah.
So we are, Kevin actually talked to me, and you probably noticed that the parade route has changed. After several conversations, I recommended we go all the way to the point this year. Because what we found last year is when Officer Davik has always led every single parade. When he came around the turn, he was literally at the end of the parade.
Holy cow.
Wow. So we
Basically,
decided,
Holy cow.
it was touching both ends, so we decided going to the point was the best idea.
Wow.
Otherwise, we're still working on accreditation, that's going very well.
Hey,
Lots of,
I'm sorry, the parade stuff. When everybody sets up, are they using not just Eberly Way but other roads to kind of station people at?
Oh yeah, everywhere, all the way up the
Okay.
sides.
so usually what we commonly do is we will shut down Main Street. So this year, because we're going all the way to the point, we will shut it down at the point, all the way to the front of the municipal building. We will shut it right down because there's so much congestion through there. So that'll shut down Elm, Walton, and Willard. So we'll shut those streets and Hall Street.
Can we make an announcement in advance that we're
Yeah,
gonna shut
I
down the
was
streets so people know?
I was gonna say that we need to get together to figure out times and locations and put that out online.
Yes.
That's another thing that bugged me about.
Kenny's gonna put the signs out for Church Street and Main Street Friday, and midnight patrols commonly go and spin those signs so that people know that no parking, so either afternoons or midnights will spin signs. And then Classic Street, Lower Classic, we're gonna make a 2-way street. So we're gonna have that no parking, it'll be a 2-way street so we can keep traffic flowing.
Okay.
So what we'll do is traffic coming off, will come down and go River Road, across Mechanic and over River Road and out.
Okay. Wow.
You guys normally do that?
We have in the past.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Probably for Memorial Day parades typically, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
last year we did it, we started it last year. It makes things flow easily, we don't back up traffic all over the place. It's really the best.
John, who normally uses that for parking? The residents who live on Classic Street apartments on the left-hand side? So are we gonna give them an option of where else they can park, like maybe Oak Mitsui parking lot, or Oak Mitsui property then?
It's ours.
I mean,
That's quite a
yeah,
bit
that
away.
fills up.
I'd put up
That's-
temporary parking signs directing people to the Oak Mitsui parking lot. I mean, John's gonna test this, there really isn't a lot of cars parked overnight on Lower
No, I
Class.
think
Okay,
maybe one or two.
Okay.
So we'll
most
put-
of them park in the lower parking lot, right?
Lower parking.
Okay.
So we'll put the signs up Friday night, people kinda get the picture, usually it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll either go to the lower lot or they'll go to the upper one next to the insurance company.
Okay.
There's really not a lot of people that park overnight.
Okay. Great.
Otherwise, I think that's about.
Trustees, any questions? Please report.
make a motion?
Oh. Yes, I will, yeah, I'm sorry, did someone make a motion to approve the
I did.
second? Alright, Bobby and Brett, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, carries, thank you, John, good luck having fun with computer stuff. Next report is code. Mark
He's not here.
Not here.
is not present.
No.
Marie, I'm just kidding.
I make the motion, accept this.
Do you guys have any
Yeah.
questions, thoughts, comments, anything?
No.
You know the house on Troy Street? It says 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, I saw that. That's what, the advertisement, that's what it
I
says.
know, it's a tiny little house.
We brought that up to Mark last time and I think we discussed that something was suspect there, but we're limited with what we can do on that situation.
Yeah, no, I just drive past the outside of it.
Have you looked at those
It's like
pictures
5 bedrooms.
online?
The fact that they never got a building permit and redid the whole side of the building with a tree fell.
Yeah.
And deleted a dormer so it looks like a one-eyed monster.
Yes.
Am I the only one that thought that was weird? Okay, just checking.
Put that on your radar.
Took them 3 years. Mention it.
Yeah,
Alright.
there's a post-it sign in the window.
and see
There's
if
something in there.
that's just shingles over the top.
Yes, it looks really weird.
There's just a
Step
hole,
on it.
there's just a hole right there.
Alright, I'm looking for a motion to approve the code report unless
I
Doug,
slowed down, but I never went.
Second.
thank you Bobby, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions? Elena, you there? Alright, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. Elena is now with us.
Hey, Atlanta.
Hi Elena.
Hello. Treasurer's report, we already.
Alright, we've talked through the treasurer's report, is there anything you guys wanna ask? Looking for motion to approve, thank you Dan, need a second, thank you Brett or Megan.
Give it to Megan.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions. Carries, clerk, deputy clerk report, hi clerk,
Hi.
how you doing?
Nothing important.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
She's so happy.
Yeah, it's great.
Really welcome back next week,
Next
right?
week,
Next
yeah,
week
'cause
she's back full
been with
time.
me, it's like a daycare in there and
I feel like that's like
It's a lot-
70% thank you and 30% I'm so
it's like,
tired.
it's exhausting, the work and
Yeah.
that, but next week will be great. Other than that, it's nothing different up there.
I love calling and hearing baby in the background, it just makes me so happy. I'll be done with marriage, but like, hey, can I hear the baby? Can I hear the baby? Alright, any questions? I will say that Elena and Olivia and I spent a lot of time, which you saw, wrapping up. We have some pending foils that we, because of a lot of different reasons, are out there. We're closing those up over the next week or two. I think we got one closed off today. We lit the fire, we have all the stuff, so I'm hoping that my goal is by the end of this month, all of our ones that are outstanding, there's one recently, one like within a month, and a couple from a couple months ago, we're all done. We'll tighten them up, so.
Caught up.
And I've been in touch with Sergeant Hudson on a couple, and he's already got plans on certain things, and we have a timeline, and Mark actually has to do some for a code one, but that's, we're on that, so. My goal is for whoever the new mayor is, we have a clear slate of FOIL requests, and a whole bunch of FOIL requests done, so yippity doo. Nothing makes us happier.
Just on that, we haven't approved a new rate structure, right? We talked about it, but we haven't approved
Yeah,
anything.
never approved.
I don't think we can change a rate structure, I think it's hard coded. Elena, we're talking
No, I
about
think we could. I think we
FOIL, rate structure changes, can we do that?
So we've talked about this before. It's prescribed in the law as far as what we can charge, but I think that there was a separate discussion on certificate of occupancy type searches, which you can set a separate fee for that.
Oh, so like,
So like we can't
Tax
change like
searches.
the pages or we can't charge by the hours, that's hard coded into the law.
yeah, the tax or.
You can charge, but it's in the law as to what you can charge.
Right.
Elaine, am I correct that you have to give the first 2 hour, anything that takes less than 2 hours has to be free?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but that rings a bell.
Okay.
Even for the documents though, don't they have to pay for the documents?
Well, see, that's another thing where the law is.
For copies, there's different. It's all right there in the law as far as what we can do. If we
Right,
want to
paper
do that, then that's
Paper,
just a
yes.
matter of pulling up the law and putting it in writing so that we know what
Yes.
And I
can be
think,
charged and what can't.
I think you can only charge the wage of the lowest person has the authority to
Lowest, yeah.
execute
Yeah, correct.
the
Yeah.
request, right?
But that would be a really good policy to get in line so that we could just have it on the website and people know and we know,
Yeah.
so. That's another good important thing to adjust in
I think
foils.
it's important also for residents and taxpayers to know that's cost us money, time and effort doing these things. Even how frivolous they may be,
Yeah.
it takes
It,
resources.
it just is what it is, yeah.
And what if someone requests, like, which I've seen some of these requests, like you, I mean, could be hundreds of pages.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, what if we do the due diligence, get all the documentation together, and the person says, I don't wanna pay for it? How do you rectify that?
I don't think you do.
You have no leverage at all to
They just don't get the documents.
Well, understood,
Yeah.
but we also wasted all of our time to retrieve the information.
But if they foiled it, don't you have to give them the documents?
Not if they haven't paid.
Not, they have to pay, that's right. That's what I was just wondering, because I know that.
Joys of foil, now you
That could
know
very
what
well
always
happen.
makes us smile when we have to talk about it.
I did it once.
Did we approve this clerk deputy clerk report?
Nope.
And Doug, thank you, Deb second, thank you for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions. Carries. Highway report, Kenny, you're limited to 4 words, go.
Wicked busy.
I make a motion, we approve the highway report.
Are there any questions?
We need to spend more money.
Are there any questions?
Immediately excused?
Bobby, go for it. Bobby has the motion,
I
need
make
a
a
second
motion.
to approve. Thank you,
Oh,
Brett.
those new flags look beautiful, those Irish flags.
Rob, I did hear a motion to excuse the students.
It's coming.
Second motion.
All in favor of the highway report, highway report.
So just
Aye.
just to touch on what Deb said, Kevin O'Malley bought those out of his own pocket.
Did he really? Gee.
And of the 7 he bought 7 of, and Monday morning, one of them was gone.
Yep, and he supplied me with another one.
I mean,
Yeah,
And one was taken by a,
one, yeah, he
it
fixed
goes
one.
like wind on John Street,
Yeah.
so.
I'll check my flag for that.
Alright, all in favor of approving?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Kenny, 3-word limit, sewer report.
Still flowing.
Still flowing. I like it. I was glad to see we brought Riley down to start getting a feel for things down there as a DPW person who's interested.
That I've been spending more time down there, there's some things that need to be repaired and replaced. My operator's been out, he's projected to be out another 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm trying to split what little time I have between everything else down there.
Yep.
So I brought our new hire down there that we initially hired in anticipation of her moving down there eventually to start doing some stuff and working down there, and she's catching on quick, so.
That's great. I'm assuming you're budgeting for some of your things you're looking to upgrade or fix.
Yes, I did, I think I asked for like a 15 or 20% increase in my maintenance budget and stuff like that, so.
You've always been good about brainstorming and thinking ahead, so not it's old hat for you. Any other questions for Kenny?
Nope.
Looking for a motion to approve the sewer report.
Motion.
Second, thank you for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Brett. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Water report, Megan?
So, just talked to Jim, they picked up the truck from Route 7 Auto, it's getting modified, the ballast tank is in, so that's good.
Yes.
Went over Rogers Ave, which is a nightmare,
But they know what the problem was.
Which is-
Fixed
well,
it.
I'm talking like whole Rogers Ave, maybe the
Oh.
tank that's ominous up there, but,
Yeah. It's frustrating.
one thing I wanted to bring up was the LSLI, which is the lead service line
I have that in new business if you wanna
Okay, perfect.
wait until we get there, yes.
And then what else? That's it.
Alright. Looking for a motion to approve the water department report with, again, huge thanks to Jim and Josh for all their work. Thank you, Dan. Second, Megan, go for it, all in favor? Aye, opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries, we're done with reports, we're gonna pause for to sign student signatures so you guys can
I thought it was 2 hours, Rob. Yeah.
Careful, some of them may be voting age, be careful there.
It's alright, it's my son's girl.
Whoever can sign me.
All of us can do it.
There you go. You betcha. I will miss getting to sign these things.
Thank you. Hold on,
Thank you guys.
You look pretty responsible, but I wanna review your notes.
Karen,
A lot of
I know what's on the wall in the bathroom, it's fine.
Maybe you could run us through this or.
Listening, that's fine.
Brett, do you know what do you see?
Let's hear from making, we're hoping to make more fun.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back to.
Thank you. Thank you guys. I know, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
First?
Yep.
Yes, let's go. I married,
Will do. Thank you, Karen.
Damn.
Okay, minutes. We are finally getting caught up on all the minutes, which I'm so excited about. Thank you, Olivia.
That's okay, that's good.
Olivia has been getting to spend her downtime listening to our recordings of the meetings. What could be worse than sitting through a meeting, listening to a recorded version of the meeting? And that is what Olivia has been able to do, so thank you.
Thank you.
We have 3 minutes up. The January 16th regular meeting, was there anything you guys saw wanted to adjust or change? Looking for motion to approve the January 16th minutes as presented. Deb and Doug second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries. The February 12th regular meeting as well.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. And the February 27th short and sweet special meeting minutes.
Woo.
Thank you, Brett. Second, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries. Thank you. I think most of those are actually up on the website right now, except
Yeah, the
some of the most
last
recent ones, so I'll
Just a special meeting.
make sure by the end of this week I have all the rest of the documents up, cause it's another thing I wanna make sure is set before we leave. Alright, committee reports. Trustee Alter, what you got?
Not a whole lot, we had interviews and for code, and what else, things are happening downtown, some good, some not so much, like.
Thorpe's, I'm so sad about Thorpe's.
You know, everybody is, it's the
I got the
second oldest
lowdown.
pharmacy in the
Walgreens
Northeast.
is sad
I
about
wanna hear all the
Forks.
lowdown later.
Tight.
Is it gonna make me angry? I know it's gonna make me angry.
Prob.
Oh, I knew it.
And that's all I got.
Alright,
Oh, no, we got some new places coming in, I don't know for sure, but I've heard a hairdresser, an antiques person,
that's
and
cool.
something else to do with food, so.
Cool.
Good, cool.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Hanselman.
Hairdresser or.
Well, cause there's not enough to do on Saturday. If you're bored Saturday morning, you can walk and run with a new run club that was started in town
Ooh.
called the 5 Run 8.
Oh, I see the five. See what you did there. 5 run, yeah.
But yeah, so, and also because I don't have enough things to join or start.
And you're organizing one.
I helped organize that
Yeah.
club.
That's great.
But
That's great.
yeah, we're meeting at 9 a.m. Down by the parking lot of the Greenway, where we typically, well, we've only had one.
Which end of the Greenway?
The
North or south?
Waterworks Road or sewer plant?
Waterbrook.
That is the
The
southern
south
end.
end.
Or no, sorry. Across from the laundromat, parking lot.
That's the middle.
Yeah,
Middle,
the
right
middle,
by the
middle,
Buchanan Street Bridge,
Sorry.
yeah.
I was like, I'm not starting it. But, yeah,
It's
so
a town road.
we've kind of created our own little route. It's a small 3-mile route.
Nice.
But it's convenient for both runners and walkers because we split by River Street. So walkers continue back down to the Greenway and we go down River Street, down River Road, over Mechanic and
Down
across the
Shop
bridge.
again back.
And by the time we get back, we did it for the first time last weekend, and it mapped perfectly that we
Okay.
finished just about at the same time.
That's awesome.
With
With walkers.
Yep, with the walkers.
Cool. Well, when I'm done with my time here and I get back into running, I'll be joining you. But
Yeah, so
not Saturday.
we had 11 people show up, which was far more than we expected. We expected
Nice.
just the 3 of us that had
Did you
been
tell
talking.
the coach at school,
No.
Mrs. Weber? I will
No.
connect you with her, so I'm sure she'd be very excited to hear
Yeah.
that and pass it on.
So,
Alright, thank you, Brett.
Yep.
Trustee Sauer.
I know that the town board met Monday, and they were looking at approving perhaps a $30,029 contribution
That's
for the
fantastic.
transfer station. It's a good example of money that we didn't anticipate, that we negotiated, that comes into our budget. But Mark wasn't at that meeting and he was supposed to get back to me on what happened.
Okay.
Now, on that, if they had done that, I believe their attorney worked up a shared services agreement. And I don't know, Elena, have they contacted you? That's the town?
Elena, did you hear that?
Who is he asking
Uh,
contacted me?
Town attorney shared service agreement regarding the transfer station.
So they sent out they did send out an email, but then somebody said hold off, there was something to do
Hanselman
with
said
it.
hold off till they had a meeting here.
Handsome.
Not this
Okay.
one.
Not this one.
Not this one.
Okay, so
I
we're
can
we're
answer
waiting
that.
basically.
Doug, I can answer, I talked to Mark yesterday and Eric both, after the meeting. Yes, one of the trustees, one of the councilmen had and wanted more information before they would, and two of them did actually, before they would act on it. And Mark being absent, they couldn't vote on it.
So the challenge of that is that we haven't revised the pricing structure there yet. And we're losing money unless they give us money.
Right.
So I don't know how long we want that to go on if they're dragging their.
I don't think Mark said that he thought that they were gonna have another meeting and it would be taken care of.
Yeah.
That's the way it was explained. Eric
There's like
said,
4 of the meetings that they've had.
Right.
But anyway, so that's in the works. The other piece is, it appears from what I hear, and I don't know, Bobby, if you've heard this, that there is a consent among, and you heard this, among the judges to be supportive of us doing another shared services agreement with the town in being able to share the court space there and free up our court space.
The
for our
armory.
expansion. Yeah,
And
the
Yes.
yes.
We'd have to bring the armory into the
Yeah.
discussion, but if they're in agreement, then I think the next step is to meet with all 3 parties
So
and have that discussion.
this is such a good idea. I am so glad that you are taking this and running with it. The amount of hours in a month that the village office has to answer court-related questions, when there is a
Every
single
day.
court place for town and village in the same location, it's gonna make things so much easier for everyone. I love this. We need space in the village office. The police department would very, very much be happy with more space, cause there's not enough, and they're about to lose more space with the bathroom remodel. So it's perfect timing. I'm
And we'll have to sublease the space from them, so they're giving us money over here and then we'll have some money
Right.
over there.
I will be voting quietly in the confines of my own home for that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then getting a
It
whole new
won't.
building.
for sure.
Alright, sweet. Anything else, Tim?
What were we gonna do this weekend?
Yes, Kenny?
Can I just add that the trustee that voted against or wanted to hold from the town, that's not that Hanselman, used the transfer station on Saturday.
Oh man.
He's a contractor.
Bus driver back there, throwing him under the
Can we
bus.
start
Alright.
keeping a tally of all those?
I would love to.
Doug, anything else?
No, that's
Thank you. Trustee Shudding, Dan. Anything?
Oh, actually, Elena, I have a question, this is gonna be a question for you that was brought up, by a resident, and I said I would ask. Apparently, actually, I think it's your brother-in-law, Bob, or something.
Oh God, don't even, no, time out, don't say that.
He said he gave me the number, there's 485.3 or something, streetlights out between the town and the village. And he said, can we refuse to pay Niagara Mohawk because they have a contract, we pay them to provide a streetlight service on these poles. Can the money be put in an escrow account pending them actually fixing them? I mean, it's a valid
I
point.
liked that idea.
Yeah.
I
What
said,
else have we got to
Are in
fight
agreement
back?
with them?
Elena, did you hear that question?
Yeah, I asked if we had a written agreement with them.
that's what I said to him, Elena, I said, I'd like to see what the agreement looks like, because we're paying them for the streetlights, and if there's an agreement, they have to maintain the streetlights, and the streetlights are all the Now, I did mention to him that the streetlights will be replaced, and he said.
Well, we're currently, the buyout just went through on 225, the National Grid buyout of lights. So that we've already signed off on eliminating using National Grid for the streetlights and replacing all the streetlights with LED. So, unfortunately, he said, there's how many lights, you saying?
He said
talking about the town.
There's only
Between the
440 poles in the
He
village.
gave me the number, how many he counted that were out.
I mean, if he included town.
Town
Okay.
and village, and I
Okay.
said, well, the village doesn't own, first of all, the village has nothing to do with streetlights, they're outside the village limits,
Right.
but. I said, listen, I can't imagine that that's something that's probably legal, but I will ask,
David and I went and counted lights. And at that time, there was, I think, 48.
In the village.
They had just fixed 18 during that time, and I think, and that was 3 months ago we reported that, and I think there's probably a good another 20 that's out now.
Olivia, you can probably, I know you're only been back a little bit, but you call on a regular basis to National Grid with a report, correct? Every poll number, right?
Multiple times too,
Yes,
for the same poll.
right.
Yes.
And they laughed at you.
I mean,
But when I complained, I came to the office and because the street light was out, and when I told you they fixed it that week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes
That's
they're
good.
good.
That was a rare occasion.
I was pretty.
Can you move
You're hired.
Yes.
Village representative.
so, I said I didn't think that was probably an option, to withhold payment or to put it in some special account, but
Well, in my eyes, it'd be dangerous with us waiting for this buyout to be,
I
cause
agree.
our buyout cost is a little over $200,000, so.
I told him that, I said, we should really talk about, he's doing the project with the LEDs, it's gonna be a moot point soon, I mean, they're gonna be replaced.
Which to that point, the LEDs, all the decorative LEDs have been replaced downtown that we own. And, there was an issue with them when they replaced them, they had some strobe light activity going on
Oh, yeah.
on John Street and on High Street. And I called at 10 o'clock at night, I got a text
Only we
with a
could play
picture
music.
or video, and I called them that night and I emailed them. The next day, the lights were fixed. With the exception, I took a ride the next night, there was 3 lights, pole 4, 6, and 7 on Church Street of the decoratives. And that was on a Thursday, and they came back on Monday to fix those. Those are all fixed. And so hopefully, we'll have
did
the
your service, Dan.
LEDs by the end of June, early part of July. That project should be in full-fledged.
And that's what I said, it really, honestly, is probably gonna be a moot point, so we're
It
gonna
is
have
probably.
LEDs. And LEDs, as I understand, I'm not an LED person, but as I understand it, they rarely just die, they just get dim with age, so they're not like the high pressure
Yep.
sodiums that just.
And these light fixtures, just so you understand, we'll be able to control these, every light fixture we'll be able to control from the laptop.
Individually.
We're smart controls in every one of the lights, so that aesthetically, if downtown needs to be brighter, we'll make it brighter at night, but in its residential areas, we can make them dimmer if people complain. So
Who will be doing that?
Yeah, that's nice.
that's gonna be the mayor's responsibility.
You control the lights.
I spearhead the project, I'm handing it off.
That sounds like a fun item.
It'll be an online app, you go in, click the thing, set numbers.
Can we put that on the website so any resident can just go in?
We're looking
Oh
for
my gosh,
volunteers,
can
we're
you
looking for
imagine the free
volunteers.
access to that?
Do it on Halloween.
That's gonna be like driving through town at night.
Set it to music.
Halloween.
Yep.
It's all red.
You can change the color.
Alright.
Do my house.
Dan, anything else?
I said I would ask, that was the only promise that I made.
Alright. Thank you,
I
Dan.
said he should run.
Trustee Walry, your final report. I have it up there.
I mean,
You're saving it for the new business.
no, I mean, for the water report,
Okay.
I already talked about it, it's already on there. It's been fun, like, serving on the board. I thank everyone for sitting here. We all have different opinions sometimes, but I mean, we've had late nights, but it's been a really neat process, and I've enjoyed spending time with you guys, so, thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you,
Yeah, no
Megan. It's been
problem.
great to
Thanks,
have you
guys.
here advocating for the community with your experience, especially on water. So it's been great. It has been awesome.
Thank you. It's been great working with you too, Rob.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Ryan.
So, I was gonna talk about the streetlights, but I don't have to now, so that's good. But, so there's light at the end of the tunnel, no pun intended, but,
Don't like to see that.
but,
At the end of the street.
yeah, that is true. But to that note, what Megan said, I wanna thank Megan, for your time on the board. It has been a pleasure and honor to serve with you, and Rob, your dedication and for what you've spearheaded with the water, you've grabbed that by the horns, and we would be nowhere without you, what you've done with this water and what you've done in the village, so, I wanna, it's been an honor to serve as your deputy mayor for the last 10 years, or 8 years, I'm sorry, but,
It's felt like
it's
10.
felt like 8 or 18, no, I'm not sure.
You've spent 10 actually. You
Yeah,
have spent
yeah,
10.
no, but it's been,
In the last lifetime.
right,
Yeah,
so.
for the last life.
Right.
Since your kids were.
And we're gonna miss you, Rob, and you're not getting away that easy, because my opinion is you should maintain your ability to be our liaison with the water. I think everybody on the board probably feels the same, and if you would accept that, we'd love that, so.
I would be very happy and thrilled to
And
keep doing that.
I'm sorry, but the new website thing too. I think we're getting some phone calls on that.
That's fine, that's
And we'll
fine.
think about
But that's all I
following
have, Rob.
Thank you, Bobby.
No.
How is that website?
Best decision I ever made,
Yeah.
Bobby. Use deputy mayor. Whole way.
Wanna talk about streetlights more?
Best for me. I don't know if it was best for you, but best for me, Bobby.
No complaints.
Alright, thank you. Old business, done. Great. New business item number 1. We already did this?
Yes,
We
done, passed.
So that one's
Yes.
done. Fantastic. Okay. We have a proposed
When was the
local
last
law.
time we had no old business?
It's been a while. It has been a while. I'm very happy about it. So we have a proposed local law. This is the local law that we have been working on with Tiffany McMahon, the assessor. I don't know why it's not loading on my page. Alright, my computer's being weird. Let me reload this. There it is. The local law that would modify the senior citizen tax exemption, which is so old and outdated, like I think 2 people qualify. We've had a lot of meetings where we've discussed this. This is the language that Tiffany helped us out with a lot, Elena is good with. And this would be a proposed local law to repeal the code of the village of Sioux Falls as it pertains to the senior citizens tax exemption and replace it with the following, and this basically has language very similar to the county and town, but also works for us. It includes the annual income of $30,000 or less, which is what we had agreed on and decided, and a 50% exemption from taxation. So we are ready to introduce this local law tonight, and Tiffany has made us very aware that we have to have it done before the month ends. So this is something that we'd like to introduce tonight. The only caveat is we have to set the public hearing for it, and that has to be our special meeting date, so we just have to kind of make a decision on when that special meeting is, the last week of March, in 2 weeks.
Is there a minimum time for the public hearing on this?
No.
Cause
I don't know.
I think you said didn't we have to have a special meeting to adopt the election results? Can we
Oh.
Ask Elena.
Can we add it right now to that?
Let's not.
That means at like 9 or 9:30.
No, we have to do
Oh,
it then,
okay, never
yeah.
mind.
Elena, is there a minimum public time between introducing a law, setting the public hearing for it?
48 hours.
Oh, okay. 48 hours.
So I'm gonna do 48 hours, that's something.
Okay.
Also you said
That's Friday.
Friday.
I mean, if we wanted to have a public hearing Friday, we could, but we know, yeah. So that's what we should do. We should have it on a float. Just hold up the sign.
We can hold a ping pong paddle.
so,
The Democrats in Congress.
I'll send Kevin a message. We've got a late addition to the parade.
So, Elena, do we need to like do anything formal besides just introduce the local law and set a public hearing? We don't have to vote on motions to introduce it, right? I think I would have this down
No,
in 3 years.
just introduce it. Usually somebody sponsors it though.
Oh. Who wants? Bobby is going to sponsor. Thank you, Bobby.
Glutton for punishment.
Sponsor. Alright, so this introductory local law is introduced. We need to set a public hearing. Do you guys have any questions on this, by the way? Okay. So my question calendar-wise is in 2 weeks. When my calendar it's not opening over there. Okay. In 2 weeks, the dates are Monday, March 24th to Friday, March 28th. Is there a particular evening preference that we have?
I am not here Thursday through Sunday.
So Wednesday and Tuesday are better for you, the 25th or 26th. Elena, do you have any availability that week in case we wanted you there?
I'm checking right now.
Perfect.
What are we talking about? March 26th?
March 26th is a Wednesday, March 25th is a Tuesday. If we did the 27th Thursday, we would be without Brett. We would all be lost.
I actually pretty free that week. In the
Alright.
evenings. Do whatever.
Let's have one every night.
Let's not say.
Wow,
we did.
guys.
She said it was free.
Anything, any other, are there any, trying to think, are there any Wednesday events?
That's what I have on my.
Wednesday the 26th, I think, does that sound good for you guys?
That works.
6 o'clock? If that becomes the celebration event to turn on the water, maybe have some state officials here to celebrate it. DEC probably would be here, DOH would probably be here. Where do we wanna have that?
Right,
So we can get moving first.
Deputy Governor.
I don't know if he would come in 2 weeks' notice, but I can always try.
Yeah, be careful about playing games.
Oh, I know, especially without the, with the New York Forward stuff now announced, I don't wanna rock any boats at all.
Exactly.
We could try for the Armory, we could do it in this room, if we expect more turnout, we could move to the highway garage, I know Kenny loves cleaning up the highway garage for our larger scale meetings.
Outside,
They
sound
don't
good.
do that.
Not in the winter time, yeah.
It'll be like late March, I'm sure it'll be 60 degrees.
Late March, in 2 weeks.
Not
We could
even,
have snow again.
not
Alright.
even, no.
Right.
So,
Right, yeah, right.
do you
It's
wanna
two-
just
it's
say,
26th, yeah.
we'll do the meeting here, and if we discover that we're gonna have a lot of people, cause we're making a big event, we'll just move to the highway garage side? Kenny, is that something we could even do?
I mean, it's, yeah, you gotta give me a couple days notice, though. I mean, I got all the equipment out there.
Yeah, 2
I have to move everything outside, and then I gotta have somebody come in, move it back in and out.
How about the Armory?
Yeah.
If the Armory's available, I'd be happy to do it at the Armory.
Well, what about court?
Oh,
When's court night?
Thursday.
Thursdays.
Tuesday,
So
Thursday.
Oh, that,
Wednesday,
isn't it Wednesday and Thursday? I don't know when that
I
is.
don't know.
I don't
I don't either, that's why I say I don't know anything about
I-
court.
Never been.
Haven't
Alright.
been there.
Let's entertain a motion, and Elena, we can make a motion and correct it later with a notice, right?
Yes.
So do you guys wanna notice it here and we'll correct it to the Armory if it's
Yes.
available? Alright, so I'm looking for a motion to set a public hearing for 6 PM here at the highway garage on Wednesday the 26th. Doug has moved for the public hearing, Brett second, further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
I oppose or abstentions, alright, the public hearing will be
Six.
set for Wednesday the 26th, 6 PM. And if we end up shifting it to the Armory, we'll just notice it, put it out there, great.
This month is just gone. What the heck happened?
Got it on my calendar.
Alright, next item. Code enforcement. We have arrived, thank you Marie. We put out initially that we were looking to hire a part-time code enforcement officer. And then we discovered that Mark, which was gracious, he didn't have to, gave us the heads up that he was looking to retire at the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of May. That changed our plans to do a full-time hire, we put out the job, we interviewed, and we all agreed and we're very happy to bring on Marie Andrew. So, knowing that is all the case, let me get up the resolution here. Oh man, what is going, nope, that's not the one, that's not the one. So, we have a resolution appointing a code enforcement officer. Whereas the Village of Hoosick Falls Board of Trustees is seeking to hire a full-time code enforcement officer in anticipation of an upcoming retirement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls in regular session duly convened as follows. 1. The Village of Hoosick Falls Board of Trustees hereby appoints Marie Andrews of State Route 67.
That's no S on my last
Oh,
name, just so you know.
Can you cross out that S?
Yes.
My apology, Marie Andrews.
Maybe there's more than
It
one.
happens all the time. I just say,
I had
it's spelled like the boy's name.
a teacher in college who was Mr. Andrews, and I think that my apologies.
Yeah,
I blame
It
him,
happens
not
all
me.
the time, it's alright.
Marie Andrew, as a full-time code enforcement officer at the Village of Hoosick Falls on a provisional basis, subject to the applicable civil service probationary period, effective 2025. Marie Andrew, starting salary will be $40,000 per year upon permanent appointment by way of successfully passing her civil service examination and being reachable, or successfully completing her civil service probationary period. Whichever occurs first, the salary will be increased to $42,000 per year. So I'd like someone to offer the resolution. Thank you, Doug. Brett, do you want to second it? Sure.
And this was the committee recommended, everybody
Yes.
was unanimous about that.
Yep. Absolutely. Any other discussion?
I think it's awesome to have a woman in this position.
You thought that was-
Position of power.
I'm sure you have heard that there has been a lot of code on the board's radar, so you definitely are gonna have your work cut out for you, but as I heard from a lot of people and saw in the interview, you're ready and chomping at the bit to get the work done, so that's stupendous, awesome.
Deal with some junk cars
Thank
for
you.
us.
Alright, so, we have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Alter?
Yep.
Trustee Sauer?
Yes.
Trustee Walry? No. Trustee? No.
No.
Okay, trustee.
I think we should wait, and we only have one applicant, nothing against you, so we have
It's
one
okay.
applicant, and like the pool is unfortunate, we don't have people knocking down the door, but.
I know, it's alright.
Trustee Shetty?
Yes.
Trustee Hanselman?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
And Mayor Rapino.
And I'm a yes. Outstanding. Thank you. You are officially appointed. Thank you. Congrats. Your starting day is, what did I say, the Monday
The 24th.
I don't know if I put it on here. I meant to put it on here. Well, it's supposed to be Monday the 24th. I don't know why I don't have it on there. It should be, it's Monday the 24th. And you'll have about 2 months, a little over 2 months of overlap with Mark. To get your bearings, he's gonna look into setting you up with the Department of State's various trainings that we have to do. We'll get started. Thank you very much. I'm gonna shake your hands. Thank you, Marie Andrew, without an S.
And
Thank you,
ahead of
Marie.
time for all of the work.
Yes, that's fine.
So as you
I like
as
the
you've
work.
heard, code is on the radar. So
Sorry.
I'm sure, and you're with the expectation, obviously, that Kevin is gonna win the seat. He is gung ho on code.
Is
So
there a stronger word than gung ho?
You'll get a list.
bazooka on code.
What did that thing Rambo had with the red? Was that the karate? Who had the red thing?
Kevin will have you on speed dial, Marie.
That's alright.
Awesome. Thank you, Marie. Thank you. Alright, next item. Transfer station. So, a while back, Keith Pierce expressed interest in doing some transfer station. We set up a resolution where some of his 40 hours would go there and then he'd get paid extra and so on. He's stepping back from that, going back to his normal wastewater assistant operator. Kenny stepped in to cover on March 8th. Thank you. Kenny will likely need to do the same, not this Saturday, because it'll just have to be closed, so transfer station's closed this Saturday for the parade. Next Saturday, the 21st, and ideally,
It will be, it's actually the 22nd. You got your dates confused.
ah,
22nd, 29th.
flips the table. Yes, it is, 29th and 22nd. Ideally, if we, and I asked Bobby and Kenny to take on interviewing transfer station operators, of which we have 2 applications already. If you're interested, get your application in quickly. We can appoint the transfer station next operator at the special meeting at the end of March. He can work with Kenny on the 29th and then get trained. That being said, Kenny is a 40-hour-a-week guy doing extra work on top of his 40 hours a week. I would like to see, and I think Bobby would also like to see him get paid the proper overtime for the extra work that he's doing on top of his 40 hours a week.
Are we adding, outside of Kenny working overtime, which is another example of an unexpected expense?
Sure.
Are we adding a position with Keith going back and working, doing other things, now we're adding a transfer station?
We used to have a
No,
shop.
Keith was both the wastewater treatment plant and he was doing transfer station hours.
Okay, but he's gonna be working full-time, not doing transfer station.
Correct.
And then we're hiring somebody to do transfer station.
Yes.
So
But-
that's an added expense.
No,
Well,
it is-
no,
we always
because-
had that
Already had
budgeted.
Keith had a 40-hour salary, and then what we did is we basically worked out a deal where I think
It was cost neutral.
some of those costs would go into his salary and he'd be paid additional overtime for the extra hours. We
Right.
put that in a resolution. So he was actually getting paid overtime like 3 or 4 hours out of the 6 every week. So we have that as a budget item, we used to have someone working. So yeah, there is a budget item there. Now, it wasn't at the expense that Kenny as an overtime would be, but because it's 3 weeks and because Kenny's bailing us out, I think it's easier. Dan had given me a quick explanation on we could like tie it to overtime for Kenny's hourly, but then you could also tie it and blend it with the overtime for Keith and what he was paid for, or we could just do Kenny's overtime and make it much easier. That'd be a little bit more expensive than blending it with the smaller, but it's a huge percentage, dumb thing, and really crazy. So, does that make sense?
Yes,
I
to me,
talked-
can I just
Sure,
interject
sure,
just one
please.
thing? Just so, I mean, everybody understands, other than the board members and Rob, that Kenny works way more than 40 hours a week and gets paid no overtime. He's a salaried employee. But in this situation, this is an exception to the rules where he's stepping up, because you can't just put anybody up there to take the spot at the transfer station. Someone needs to know how the system operates, and Kenny's willing to step up and fill the void, and that's why we're in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very short notice that Kenny received as far as the Keith resigning, so.
Yeah.
So
Nothing bad or nefarious.
No,
because I
nothing
wanna-
bad, no, it's cause nothing
Yeah.
bad against Keith.
Personnel things, certain things we don't share. That's
Right.
You want a motion?
So all we need is a motion to approve paying Kenny for these 3 Saturdays. One would be retroactive, 2 would be upcoming, 6 hours each at his proper overtime rate as per his salary.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that work?
Yeah.
Doug, you wanna make that motion?
Yeah.
Megan, wanna second that?
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Kenny.
Carried unanimously. Thank you, Kenny,
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
and thank you, board. Thank
Make
you,
sure you
board.
report any town
I will.
board members that you
I'll keep a list, trust me.
We do need to have a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Keith Pierce regarding his work as a transfer station operator to return to his normal full-time wastewater treatment
Did we
plant.
receive that?
We did get,
Okay.
Yeah.
we
Okay.
got an email that
Yeah.
was,
Okay,
will serve
okay.
as a,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So we need a motion,
Sure,
Bobby.
I'll make that motion,
Second,
sure.
Brett. Further discussion, accepting the letter of resignation, obviously with regret from Keith stepping down for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries, and we discussed
We already
that,
did
so
3,
that's all fine.
right, the last one.
New business, LSLI, lead service line initiative. Wanted us to discuss,
We
what
did.
are we going to do in terms of the pay? We had proposed, I think offering some sort of either credit, I think it was a credit on like a future water bill for either half or the whole cost of the $30 or so lead test, whatever water test.
Yeah.
On the with the requirement that we get a copy of the results so that we can update our database. So we just as a board kind of have to make that decision on what do we want, how do we want to do that? And Elena, would that be a motion thing or a resolution thing we can do in a month?
Specifically, are you asking specifically as to how the credit's going to be done? Because wasn't there already a vote as to what credit would be given?
I do not recall there being a vote where we decided. Megan does not think so, but you have missed a couple, so it may have been. But I don't think so.
I thought we talked about,
We talked about it, but we never made
Discussing
it.
I think
it and
consented,
having-
but we didn't do
talking
anything.
about amounts, but maybe it wasn't decided on.
Yeah, we spoke about it, but we didn't make a decision.
Oh, you know what it may have been? It may have been we need to hear from the company on if it can be easily built into the sewer or to the water billing. That may be it, but either that, we can decide collectively what we wanna do, whether it's like this is the full 30 or just 15 or however you guys wanna do it. This is an optional thing for residents to do, but we wanna support it because we want them to feel safe and good about it, and we wanna have the data, cause
Well,
we
and
need the data.
the data to go forward if we're gonna be looking for any funding.
Yeah.
So we have to have the data.
I'm in favor of full thing if they do it. I think it's in the community and our interest to do it.
I
It
assume,
costs us the same amount of money basically,
Mm-hmm.
administrative.
I assume we'll have a vendor or something for that, so we don't have like everyone.
Yes.
Using their own.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, well, mine was $500.
How many parcels do we have in the village? Remember that number?
Right, yeah.
Denise has like,
It's like 1,200 and change.
yeah, that, I mean, that could be like a $35,000, $40,000 thing, if there's 1,200 parcels and they all wanna do it and it's $30 a test, that would be $36,000 of revenue that we would be offering as a discount. Now, we wouldn't get that all at once, it'd probably be
And that's
broken
out
up.
of the water budget.
And that would be out of the water budget, but if we decide that some of the free money coming in, or if we budget for this reimbursement, then when it comes in, we can do it in
We
budget,
can
so,
move money into the water.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
options there.
I think we need to be a little careful with this for a couple reasons. One is that if you test your water line and you get a positive lead reading, it does not mean there's lead in your line. It could be anywhere from where the water comes from downriver to your tap, right?
Yeah.
So it's not dispositive of anything, I mean, it could be helpful, but,
Well, I mean, that would make relevance for just like discovering, like
Yeah,
digging up,
right.
you know, checking it out, seeing what, if the
Yeah.
lead service line is lead or not.
It's not an absolute that yes, we know there's a thing or it's
Right.
this exact spot. It could be the line from when the village's
Yeah.
responsibility stops into the house. It
Right.
could be a fitting, we don't know.
yeah, so I think there's a communication component to this when we do it too. And
Yes.
if you do get a positive result, so ultimately my understanding is, and Meg, if I'm wrong on this, correct me, but, we have to dig every single line that we can, we don't have an absolute knowledge of, right? So like my house on 22, we know that was redone in 2004, right around when I moved in, we know there's no lead there. We don't need to dig it, we know everything was replaced, but all the rest of them, we actually have to dig those, whether they get a positive or negative. In other words, the two are not mutually inclusive, I think, so if you get a positive result or a negative result, doesn't mean we don't have to dig your line. If you get a positive result, it still means we have to dig your line. They all have to be done.
I don't think
I
it
don't
means
think
we have to
If
dig
you
it.
don't get a positive result, I don't believe that you have to dig the line.
I think there's some sort of, to be honest, there's not a lot of.
Again, I could be wrong.
And I could be wrong too. Honestly, I'm not sure because it's not very clear.
Yeah.
I feel like they just basically told every municipality, you
Do
have
this.
to know it, and we're all
Yeah, you
like, what do you want that you think this is a thing everyone can manage?
Right.
Yeah, you had to do an inventory, and
Yes,
the
there
only way
has to
you
be an
could
inventory.
check off a house as not being lead positive is if you had actual knowledge based on
Right.
some kind of empirical evidence, right, like the Route
Others-
22 corridor.
All the stuff we had to mark as we don't
Yeah.
know, uncertain, but there are some we definitely know, and there's some that we have set into
Well, and Jim and
Delaware.
Josh have, like, they have that
Yep.
started, like,
Yep.
they've done a really great job, so it's
But-
just who's paying for the
Yes.
testing.
And also, and I hate to bring national politics into it, the Trump EPA may completely roll that back.
Well,
You don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
EPA's going out and
They've
off,
rolled a
riding off
bunch
into
of
the
stuff
sunset
back, so
pretty quick.
it's possible
Yeah,
that this
this
will
way.
become moot and all of a sudden an executive order comes down from on high.
But the question on the table is, what do we wanna do to
Right.
incentivize?
I think it's, and to Dan's point, it does have to be communicated properly, because anytime you hear lead and water, like, oh my god!
Right.
And we test regularly, we don't get hits, so generally we have been safe on this, but we don't know how it's gonna turn out.
So I guess my part of the communication thing, my question would be, hypothetically, the funding dries up for this initiative, as you had suggested, which is not off board right now in the national political scheme, and you get a whole bunch of people around town that hit a positive for whatever reason, somewhere there's solder upstream, anything, they used 50/50 bar solder years ago. And listen, I mean, there's no way possible this village can dig every line on our own funding. Right?
Yeah.
So then what happens then, right? Like,
Correct me if I'm wrong, there is an acceptable amount of lead that's acceptable, so I mean, if you were to.
Give me a second to check that.
and that could be true, I don't
I
know
think
that.
it is,
Okay,
I think there's an acceptable amount of lead that you can have in your water.
cause there's so much just in the environment, I mean, it's a mineral, or it's an element, right? It's.
EPA has a 15 parts per billion number.
Like, so if say someone tested their water and they were below that, do we still, if they're below the acceptable limit?
New York State is 5 parts. No, they're looking to change it to 5 from 15. They have a revised level. It's 5
I mean,
parts per billion.
I don't wanna be.
Reduced
bad
from
guy, I'm just
15.
saying, if
No, understood,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's a lot of.
If there's a limit, I mean, do we still have to be responsible for those that are under the limit?
This is one of the 1,000 questions that we don't have answers to.
It's a
Right,
great question,
we
I
have to
don't know.
discuss it,
Yeah.
we'll have to
Who's
do
paying
so,
for it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but in the meantime, going back to Doug's point, do we want to basically say, regardless of what happens, we're gonna put $18,000 into this, and it's there until it dries up, or 9,000, or the full 36? What do we want to do?
So generally, we would assume.
I mean, we could set up a $10,000 first come first serve. You do it, you get us the stuff, you got it. When we run out of 10,000, that's it. I would be stunned if even though it's
Well,
lead
we would
testing,
expect
if half the village took us up on this, I would be floored.
Right.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, I agree
I
with that.
agree with you.
So
I would say, I mean, I'm definitely more in favor of letting everybody test, But from a budget standpoint, I would also argue and say we could offer it at the full, we would pay the full $30 for the testing, but you have to schedule the test. It doesn't have to be done within that certain amount of time, but it has to be scheduled
Submit the
and
payment.
submitted
We've done the
saying
results by
that
a certain time.
Yeah.
you have done it within this 3-month time period.
Let's
So it sounds like we're all in favor of this. We don't need to decide this right now. We can put a resolution together to make this official.
Yeah.
But we're all generally in favor of the full.
Yeah,
Yes.
with that, I think it's
It's just like we did with
schedule it, take responsibility, there's
Yeah.
a timeframe here, and you
Yeah,
also
we can
want-
put it
It's like what we did with the blood testing thing. It was
Yes.
offered, you got the blood
Yes.
testing, anything after that.
So Elena, did you hear that?
Yes.
We're gonna look for a resolution in the future that sets, offers it for free. We'll have to set a certain window, so you can draft that and send that out, and we'll kinda look at it and make decisions over email on how much time.
nationwide initiative, like it's not just
Awesome.
that's it. Yeah.
Anything else on this? Thank you guys, Brett, I like that idea a lot, so thank you.
Can we draft something to put in, like the water, oh, okay.
She's gonna, yeah, she'll draft the resolution.
No, I mean
We'll
like,
need to draft something
I'm
else to
informational,
explain
like
it.
that just lets people
Yes.
know so we don't create like panic within the
I will
community.
pass that on to the
It's-
next mayor.
It's
Next
not that,
mayor.
right, and like Megan said, it's not that we are doing this because we wanna do it or because we've got a hit, it's,
We're being mandated.
we are being mandated
to
to
do
do
it.
this.
Yeah, and it's proactive.
It's a
It
good
is
idea.
Right.
proactive, so,
Well,
yeah.
I can do it, I'm not getting mine done.
Alright,
Me either.
Could care less.
Me too.
discussion item for you guys, I think I know the answer, I already told Denise what I thought the answer would be. If by chance, we as a village board, or I guess it'll be you guys as a village board when I'm done, go through the 25-26 budget and decide we do need to increase 10% or 5% outside the standard 1.8 to 2% the tax cap is. We have to have a local law in place, adopted, ready to go to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
My question to the board is, do you wanna get that local law ready as we typically do? Or do you wanna say, absolutely not, we're just gonna have to make it work and suck it up? What this law does is it does not require us to exceed the tax cap, but it enables us to, should there be a problem or a reason to do it. We've done this every year,
It's
sometimes
standard.
it's just like, principally I'm against it, so I'm just not, I don't even wanna consider this, I understand that, that's fine.
Yeah.
This is the question I wanna have as a discussion point and offer to you guys, if we do it as a local law, the local law has to be passed before the budget is officially passed. And the budget has to be passed no later than May 1st. So it is kind of a tight timeline, it can be done, obviously we have special meetings, regular meetings, so. Where do you guys fall on this? Or do you wanna punt it until the next
I
special
mean,
meeting?
personally, I'm gonna say no, because if we're gonna make the changes and be realistic about the changes we want to make, this, not doing this would help enforce making those actual changes.
Oh,
gonna-
so it puts pressure to make the changes needed.
Right,
By
the
not-
budget change.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're a no, Dan, you said no. Anybody else?
I'm gonna know.
No?
I'd like to wait.
Okay.
No.
No, okay. Okay, that's exactly what I told Denise the answer would be, across the board, no. Alright, but I wanna have that discussion. We have a standard resolution that we do, this is the 16th, where through the agreement with St. Gobain, Honeywell, the costs that they take on to get the water supply going, our engineering costs and environmental attorney costs, where is it? Are paid through the escrow account, so this is just kind of a check it off type thing for people who haven't seen the first 15 of these. This resolution authorizing the payments of the environmental attorney and engineering is listed out, and here's all the details on when it was done, and the escrow account was filled back up when it ran out. The attorney fees are $3,392.50. The engineering fees are $1,921.50. I don't know why it wants me to go light blue. So therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls regular session to the convene as follows. This Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the payment of invoices from Sterling Environmental Engineering in the amount of $1,921.50 and Gilchrist Tingley PC in the amount of $3,392.50 to be paid from the escrow account funded by St. Gobain and Honeywell as provided for in the agreement authorized by the parties and approved by this village board back on May 10th, 2023.
So moved.
You wanna offer?
Mhm.
Need a second? Megan, it's like, yes, alright, further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Start at the other end.
Start at the other end, it's the escrow one.
It's, yeah.
It's the escrow one for engineering and
Oh, yeah,
attorney,
go for it.
number 16.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Do it.
Trustee Walry?
Yes.
Trustee Shetting?
Yes.
Trustee Hanselman?
Yes.
Trustee Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
And Mayor Rob Allen?
I'm a yes. When you get to the office tomorrow, can you scan that and sign that?
Oh, yeah.
He was very adamant that you do it tomorrow morning. He's mentioned it more times than I can possibly fathom.
Who's that, Mr. Engel?
Mr. Angle, he's very wants it.
It's a mandate.
That's all right. Now he just wants to tighten things up.
There's an addition, I thought this was gonna be included because don't we have to, the board has to approve the corrective action plan to the comptroller's audit report by the end of
Special
this
meeting.
month?
At the special meeting, we'll do that. Yes. That I meant to include that as one of the special meeting items. I think I did, but yes, and I have not had a second to really dive fully into that. And Doug has done a bunch of work already on that, both reviewing the audit response and drafting the starting point, which is brilliant. Thank you. So Doug, lots of credit for you for that. We just need to sit down, make sure it's good, and we're going forward with that.
Oh, no, sorry.
Any other items for the good of the body, the board? Hearing none, I'm looking to entertain a motion to enter executive session pursuant to blah 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 to discuss proposed current pending litigation and potential future hiring decisions with no business to be conducted at the end of executive session. Megan, would you like to make the final one?
Yes.
And Brett seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries. The open part of the meeting is over at 8:20 p.m.